Yes, hello. I am James Rowland. Today it's WNR 569. It's NXT update. It's a great American bash. And I'm not alone. Another pleasure to be joined by a resident NXT expert and New Japan demigod. It is Monty. How's it going, man?
Doing great. Excited to be back talking about NXT. Been on a good run and knocking these shows down, so it's always cool to catch up once again. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm in a good mood, so hopefully today will be a at least when we get to talking about NXT, we get to to talking about all the ins and outs because, like you mentioned, it don't feel like we've missed much, but a lot has happened. A lot of things have went down, and so I'm really excited to talk about Great American Bash and just everything around it. We might even gonna get into some Impact too. So I'm excited. This should be fun.
You're out there. We've got four NXTs and Great American Bash, plus Impact and Slammiversary, like you say. But first, we did lose two true icons this week. I mean, legend is a word used often, but I think for Ozzy Osbourne, he was the definition of it. He helped create heavy metal. Like, when you talk about certain people, like he created a genre of music that wasn't there before. And on top of that, kind of being the crazy frontman who didn't stop. Of course, when I was growing up, it was the Osbourne show where people kind of knew him best. I mean, but to be able to play your last gig in your hometown and then just 2 weeks later, unfortunately, pass away, kind of brings a lump to your throat. He was a part of the Rock and Wrestling, was general manager for one night. And also, kids, if you're watching Survivor Series War Games, you will hear him. We're speaking to Gina during the week, and she says, raise a glass for Ozzy Osbourne. I mean, Monty, not a wrestler, but I think someone who is a true legend and did have association with wrestling as well.
I mean, to be honest, Ozzy is just like he transcends a lot of that, which is kind of it's saying it's not it's kind of crazy when you think about it. Like you said, he created a genre of music and was also like the prototype. Like when you thought about metal or you thought about a rock star, everything about him was like the prototypical like definition of what you came to think of when you think of rock stars, whether it was the antics and the biting bats or whatever you hear about, we heard about with Ozzy, or just like you said, just being able to kind of transcend that and still be relevant 20, 30 years later to people like me who was much younger, didn't get to see him, even in the Black Sabbath days. Of course, I went back and found and listened and heard more about Black Sabbath, and of course, he ended up leading his own band and doing his thing for many many years after that. But like he transcended just that. Like you create a genre of music, that's enough already to kind of get you think you're a legend. But then to like do what he did in television, do what he did, like you said, with his association with wrestling, to do what he did uh, in philanthropy over the years too, is just it's really awesome when you think about just like how much if anybody lived a life, you can say Ozzy lived multiple lives, and that's one thing about him. I was always one of those people who you know didn't even necessarily get into. I didn't watch the Osbournes as much as it was very popular, but I always kind of admired how it worked out that way for people like Ozzy Osbourne, for the legends, to kind of still be relevant in different ways. Whether you seen him being, wherever he had going on with his family, or did, like you said, the many different things he was just involved in, all the way pretty much up until he passed. So yeah, man, a true legend. He transcended so much and did so much stuff that it'll take. We can have a whole show basically. We wanted to just about Ozzy. That's the crazy thing about it. So yeah, man, rest in peace. But it's one of those situations where I remember years ago when COVID was going on and his health was declining at the time, and I was wondering even then. So when you really think about the fact that we here 5 years later, and he was able to go away with his family at his side. I mean, it's just one of them things that you hate to see him go, but he was definitely like you said, an icon, a legend who just did so much that I mean, I know I'm missing out on a whole. I probably missed out on a whole bunch of stuff just in this trying to talk about him. Like, but he meant so much to so many people, and you also saw that when his passing was announced. It was shock. It was a lot of people, but it was also a lot of people paying their respect because he impacted a lot of people.
Yeah, without doubt. And again, it's nice to see as well, since his passing, the amount of people that have come out who said they've been influenced by him, all the kind of other
Right.
stories that you haven't heard, and it just shows you he really was a true legend. Most people might see him, for that guy and think, what, just that old guy. But again, like you said, he just embodied everything that was like, a punk rocker, so to speak. So, and yeah, like I said, to get to 76 as well, like a big bucket win, so,
Right. Like, yeah, if
so
you know the history of that genre and like his
yeah.
peers, like, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, he lived it, and we thought that would be the biggest death of the week. And then news broke of Hulk Hogan dying at the age of 71. I mean, I was in shock, and I will explain the reasons why. And what I'm going to do here is I've been thinking about which way to go into it and talk about it, so I'm going to do this. Hulk Hogan, okay, as we know him, the superstar, and then there was Terry Bollea. All right. So first off, I want to speak about Hulk Hogan, and Hulk Hogan was, probably the most recognized wrestler in the history of time. You'd be your grandma, your dad, the people who never knew wrestling. I've had messages for people who don't watch wrestling who would be like, "Do you know Hulk Hogan has died?" And it's like, yes, it is a big shock because we all lived through Hulkamania, in some ways or not. And I'll explain. Of course, some people aren't old enough to remember 1984, 1985 with the Rock and Wrestling and the first WrestleMania and how important that was with Hulk Hogan. Also, the involvement, of course, Vince McMahon, Roddy Piper, and others as well at that time. Mr. T as well, let's not forget. But again, it created what we know today. The Rock and Wrestling, along with WrestleMania and Hogan main event in the first, 8 WrestleManias officially, of course, with WrestleMania 9 as well. Feuds, with the very best, Macho Man, Randy Savage, of course, Ultimate Warrior, Andre the Giant, that moment of slamming him as well. It's truly iconic. And again, moved on from WWF during that time. Again, this is a quick rebrief. I also did something on YouTube as well where I spoke more about Hogan's career, but of course, going to WCW and then creating the NWO alongside, of course, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. It really, again, changed the business as we know it from WCW with the most success. And even Hogan, after that time in the NWO with WCW, still went back to WWE and won a World Heavyweight Championship. Still had SummerSlam matches with the likes of Randy Orton and, of course, Shawn Michaels. And then from that, he went to Impact and it didn't really work out in TNA. And of course, there's all the other issues there. So I will say Hulk Hogan, for what he was known as, for what he did in WWE, it is kind of truly remarkable. And he is a true icon and legend. But Monty, as I was talking about, Terry Bollea, the man, might be slightly different to Hogan. Would that be fair to say?
I think that's pretty accurate. I mean, I don't think you can. For me, it's all. I personally have a hard time separating the two, mostly because he's one of those wrestlers from back in the day who kind of lived that persona. But yeah, 100%, that's the case. I mean, everything he did in wrestling, and like you said, everything that Hulk Hogan and like the character and all of that and what he represents, you pretty much put it perfectly clear. He is the most recognizable, or was the most recognizable wrestler, ever. And for what he did for WWE, I see a lot of people making the statement about him saving wrestling, and I don't necessarily agree. But you got to look at it from the perspective of the most WWE fans. Most people don't look at WWE or look at what wrestling was before Hogan. When you talk about different territories, when you talk about around the world, they don't look at it outside of what WWE is. And if you think about what WWE is, yes, a great argument can be made that if it wasn't for Hogan and the timing and him being the character he was and everything he did for people, for kids, and all that in the '80s, and with the example he was, would WWE even be what it became? This global force that we know it to be. Of course, you can make the argument of not, but that's the type of guy, that's the type of impact he left, that's the type of star power he had. And I think that's why when you start to talk about Terry and all the things that we know about him personally and the things that you come to find out years later, I think that's why I just wanted to attack this. I keep seeing everybody saying the same thing, and I'm just like, it's annoying to me. It's very annoying because it's not complicated for me. A lot of people keep. I think even on SmackDown the tribute show, Cody mentioned it. A lot of people been saying that all week. The complicated legacy, And I just want you to think about that. When someone passes away and you got to keep mentioning how complicated things are, you might want to think about why you saying that and who is that complicated for? Because it might be more complicated for the people who grew up in the 80s and grew up with. I get that. It's hard for me to be sympathetic. I was a mid 90s baby. I got to know Hogan. By the time I got to know Hogan, he was Hollywood Hogan. And yes, he left an impact on me even then. Like even to that extent, the entrance, the taunt, all of that about everything about Hogan. He catches your eye immediately. The charisma was always there when it comes to Hogan. So yes, I was one of those little. I wasn't never a Hulkamaniac, but I was one of those guys who loved Hogan. You know, Hollywood Hogan is probably one of my always been my favorite incarnation of him. But then as you start to get to know Hogan about the business and realize, oh well, he didn't like to lose. He wasn't really well liked, union buster and stuff like that. All of that stuff does come into play. And I think the thing that annoys me is just like I said, everybody want to bring up all the complication and all that. But I'm sorry, for me and people who look like me, whenever you are outright racist and you find you have a hard time apologizing for it, or your apology seems more, dang, I'm mad I got caught, instead of actually being sincere in your apology and all, don't even get me started. Whenever that stuff starts to come about, it's not complicated for people like me anymore. It is what it is. Yes, you can say he's Hogan, he's this and he's that, but he also was a racist. And I don't have any toleration for those type of people and people who think like that. And I think that is why when you're looking online and the day he passed away, you see some people doing things and saying stuff that might be frowned upon, might be tasteless. But there's a reason for that. And I don't want that to be ignored just because some people want to get on their high horse about why they seeing some of these things and oh my god, this shouldn't be happening. Well, he shouldn't have been the way he was. And no matter how we found out about that and how that stuff, he had ample time, almost exactly a decade to be exact, to try to make it right, to try to change people's perception of that. And he didn't really care to ever do that. He had comments that make people who look like me feel like he looked at us as less than human. So don't feel bad. It's so hard for me to kind of feel bad when other people are treating him like that in death less than human. So to me, it's very, like I said, people want to keep using complicated. It's not really complicated for me. I have my feelings about Hogan. I've always said it. I said it before he passed away, so I had no problem saying it after the news. It is definitely one of those things where you want to be mindful of the family and all of that, but at the same time, as I just feel like people who don't live in, especially in people of color shoes, or black people, especially black Americans, don't know our history. I suggest you guys keep your mouth shut when it comes to feelings about stuff that you can understand. It can be complicated for you guys, and I understand it. You know what? That's fine. Let it be complicated. Mourn all you want, but the way we would choose to mourn, or the way other people choose to move on, to take this news, I can't sit back and judge them when a person has said and done some of the stuff that he did. Because, like I said, as somebody who used to do the poses, as somebody who used to look up to Hogan, how do you think I felt when I saw those comments and how he looked at me and looked at people like me? How do you think a lot of us felt when a lot of that stuff came out? And instead of actually apologizing and trying to make a difference, you just get by off your reputation. WWE slowly but surely, ever since they kind of invited him back into the fold, have been trying to just act like, don't worry about that. That was just a mistake. But this. You know who never forgot that? People who look like us. And at the end of the day, that's kind of where I stand on it. But again, I get it. Rest in peace. He was definitely an icon. Like you mentioned, he was everything that everybody has to say about him. That's one thing I'll say. No matter if it's negative or good or positive, you're probably right when it comes to Hogan, because he was one of those type of people. But to me, that don't make it complicated. I just want people to say what it actually is.
Mm. But the thing is, as well, is again, it's almost like don't meet your heroes, because there's a few wrestlers that I've met who turned into dickheads, which you kind of go off them as well. There's wrestlers
Right.
who I've been, for me personally, like friendly with Joey Ryan and people like Marty Scurr, and then
Mm-hmm.
again, you feel like in my way, so there's no way I'm going to defend them, and it's the same with like talk about Hulk Hogan. You can't deny what he's done, either way.
Right.
I think that's fair
Exactly.
to say.
And that's
I
where
think
we at.
that's yeah.
Right.
So again, the people are like, oh, why are you going on about it? It has to be mentioned. It was down to him not to be that way. And again,
Exactly.
it is not. for you to then say, well, this is your opinion on him. Then, do you know what I mean? It get it like if Hogan had then come out and apologized for it afterwards and tried to make amends or whatever, rather than just like you said, just trying to move on. And again, we see it as well. Let's not forget, people like Stone Cold Steve Austin, who've domestic abuse and stuff like this. And again,
Mm-hmm.
I bring up Mike Tyson all the time because even Stephanie
Right.
McMahon was like, no, he got done for rape, before we signed him. Like, no, 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 you signed him like literally 2 years afterwards. So,
Right.
and again, it's weird this kind of celebrity thing of even now, Monty, I still see the Chris Benoit. Oh, he will be missed and all that. And it's like, and again, I'm not putting it as a level of, well, Hogan only did a 2 and Benoit did a 10. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying it like that,
Exactly.
but
It's not a competition.
it's not a competition. But if people are still, saying, oh, Benoit, well, we
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't forget his legacy, then there's a big
You
fucking
know it's
issue. And I
gonna be
think
like that. Right.
yeah,
Right.
I think that comes with celebrity. It's even weirdly enough. I don't know what, but it's like over here, MasterChef, which is like a cooking show. A guy got
Mm-hmm.
sacked for doing all these kind of sexual things as well. The other guy got sacked. They're still going to show it on TV. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Because it's like, well, we
Right. Right. Right.
filmed it. Like we're not going to waste it.
Still
So
reruns of the Cosby Show showed over here.
yeah,
So
again, if
yeah,
you're a
I know
kid,
what you mean.
the issue and the comments is like like I said, you either die a hero, live long, see yourself, live long enough to become a villain. And what I
Yeah.
find weird as well is out of kind of all the 80s and stuff like this, after generation before me, like Ric Flair is probably one of the few left. As we spoke about the Ozzy Osbourne, it's like fair fucking play. Do you
Fair
know what I
play,
mean?
man.
Yeah,
Right, because
yeah,
he's been through the ringer and put that liver of his through it all. You know what I'm saying? And still going. So yeah, man, fair play. It's one of those things. And like that's all I'm saying. Like I just feel like I don't understand the need to just try to act like we can only talk about like just be honest in my opinion.
yeah.
Because I remember and it hurt people differently, but I remember when Kobe Bryant passed away. And like I saw people bringing up his case and his the thing that went on in Colorado. If you know anything about Colorado, I mean, know anything about Kobe and his past, it was people bringing up that negatively about Kobe when he passed away fatally and shocked all of us. So like these things happen. Like you said, it kind of comes with being the celebrity. Some people are going to look at you and they can put you up and talk about this and all that. Some people are going to talk about both. Like I prefer to talk about both sides of it. And then
Mhm.
some people are going to, again, look at it completely for some of the wrongdoing you do. I saw somebody make a really good point. Like if Hogan passed in like 2005 or something, oh, it would have been like who knows? It would have been parades, all types of type of stuff. But then like you said, you live long enough for people to kind of turn back and get to know certain things about you. And I cannot like again. I love Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm gonna be very very hurt that when that day comes. But if somebody's sitting around and telling me, "Oh, what you crying for that woman beater or whatever," about what can I be mad at them
Yeah.
for still holding on to that? Because like we all got our different sensitivities to different type of things. If you see what I'm trying to say. So again, I feel like you said, it's got to be balanced. And I think in my opinion, as long as you can look at it and understand both points of view, then in my opinion, you fine. But if you're trying to argue somebody else down, telling them how to mourn, if you're doing this and doing that, if you're telling them that this is wrong and that wrong, that's where I start to disagree. And that's why I don't understand. It's just like some people have different feelings about this. But I definitely, again, I'm never gonna take away because I'll be sitting here lying to your face if I told you that Hogan didn't leave an impact. It wasn't one of the reasons why I fell in love with this business and this sport. And also, I will say this to try to end this on a semi light note. I hated the leg drop growing up, but it was only one man that can make me want to do it. It made me want to be like that. And what a horrible finish. But think about that. That's how over he was. Didn't
Hmm.
need to do much. I saw somebody ranking his best matches, and they had to be honest with themselves. They were like, "I'm gonna be real. This is tough when it comes from a quality standpoint, but when it comes from an impact, or if it comes from listening to the arena of fans in the arena, oh, Hogan was great at that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just one of those things with Hogan where it's like you can always kind of if you really want to go there, we can nitpick all day when it comes to Hogan. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, he was an icon, and for all the people who are very very sad and down about it, I understand. But for all the people who don't feel one way or the other about it because of whatever, I don't see how you can't at least understand it. You don't have to agree with it, but you can at least understand it.
Yeah, and again, especially from a personal point of view, it's a shock because again, now you're getting on a little bit, and the next generation to go. I know it's going to sound morbid, is
Right.
is your own,
Oh
and
my
that's horrible
God.
to say. You start thinking that. I will also say as well, oddly enough, because I was a big fan of Hogan during his '95 WCW run before the NW, because it was
Oh
just
wow.
awful. But no, but all that Dungeon of
Dungeon
Doom
of
and stuff like
Doom.
that. It's my nice place. Do you know what I mean? So I always
Right.
love that kind of stuff. But
So cartoony.
the super fan for Hulk Hogan, who was in WCW, I'm sure he showed in WWF events as well, died the same week as Hogan,
Oh
and
my
also
God, that's crazy.
2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, Rick Derringer died, who of
Yep.
course did the
Theme
immortal
song.
Hulk Hogan theme song. So there you go. I
Crazy.
think that's crazy. It all came in like a weird little circle. But no, again, we had to talk about Hogan, but it's how we're going to deal with it, and I think we deal with it perfectly. But we have, believe it or not, is NXT update. But we're gonna we're gonna get on NXT soon. We'll start with Impact though, because JC Jane attacked Masa Slamovich, and they was talking about a champion versus champion as well. And Mike Santana was added to the Slammiversary main event, which is a triple threat match with Joe and Trick. Well, say his name, and he appears July 1st NXT. We see a TNA champion Trick Williams make his entrance. He sat on commentary to watch Wesley versus Joe Hendry. Joe's pop was a little bit better. Santana showed up, and Lee's cohorts were getting involved. Hendry won a moment later with his finisher to end a pretty solid encounter. But Monty, we were discussing in the last update again, Joe Hendry's kind of impact with the crowd. And again, it's weird to see how the mighty have fallen when it's Wesley kind of just being used as the jobber guy, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that was my biggest takeaway. Even with the Tyreek Igwe and Tyson DuPont, I guess High Rise, even with the whole faction idea, he doesn't seem to be having any type of traction at all. But you mentioned it. I think Joe seemed to be at least a little bit better. Uh, I think, to be honest, he fits, and I don't know if that's part of what's going on with Hendry. I don't know. I mean, he does fit the WWE style, whether people necessarily like him or not. And I think that's what this match, even though it wasn't that long, kind of showcased his skills and just how even in a not that long a match, he can get the crowd and get everybody kind of into what he has going on with Wesley. But I think that was kind of like my biggest deal watching it for somebody like I think me and you, since we kind of we die hard at this point when it comes to NXT, watching how far he's fallen. And like you said, you warned me, not necessarily that you warned me, but you never really was sure about the heel turn. But I think we definitely know now that man, that heel turn, it just didn't work. Sometimes you just gotta leave a guy in that underdog role, and just, I mean, even if you thought that was getting stale, I just think we know Wesley could be doing so much more than where he's basically been at now. His trajectory is just he's just stagnant. I don't see any upward mobility for him, and I think he's even further away from the main roster than he probably ever was as a
Yeah.
babyface. So it really sucks to see him in this spot. But I thought this was a pretty fun short match though. It wasn't bad. Fun on TV, fun little television match. But to watch, kind of like you said, West to kind of be just used to advance something else, it is very disappointing when you think about the trajectory. Because again, I had him as one of those guys who could be in the world title picture. If since after the North American title where Obo kind of fell off, I thought that was the next step, and it just seemed like as far away from that as we can get.
Yeah, it is really odd. We see Luca Cristofino came out and he wanted to put all of this to rest, so he asked Tony D'Angelo to join him in the ring. Luca laid out all the ways he'd been loyal to Tony D until Stacks came out, and Luca ended up laying out both men with big right hands and said his loyalty is to himself before leaving. Fuck him. I don't know. I mean, I can't wait for that triple threat, Monty. What the fucking hell is this? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's nearly over now, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't really been paying that close attention to these family segments. I'm just like you. It's like, hey, can we get to this payoff? When is the last Stacks, Tony D, and I guess now Luca encounter? When are we gonna get this over with? I mean, not that they're doing a bad job. I think I've always gave them the compliment of seeming to at least believe in what they're doing, but again, it's not really a wrestling based storyline. So I think the thing is that, and I feel like if you are in this group, I'm not talking about you, but I am saying everything that they've been doing with the family, in my opinion, post stacked heel turn. If you were very invested in what they've been doing, you might love all of this. But if you kind of like me and just been okay, or you can you can take it or leave it with most of the stuff the family been doing, then this really don't do much for you. And that's kind of where I'm at. It's just like, all right, I've been taking it or leave it on the family the whole time. So that whole breakup angle isn't the most interesting thing to me. But if you love the family and you've been into it, then I can see people, caring, because I do think they at least seem to be the talent seem to be invested. But yeah, I mean, I can give or take, to be honest. This doesn't whether this is on the show or not on the show, I'm fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but what I love about the family is that you can tell how many matches they've had in NXT in a year just by the amount of PLEs. Do you know what I mean? Like
Right.
they just don't wrestle. It's
They
great.
don't
It's
wrestle, man.
no.
That's my point, though. It's like it's not a wrestling feud at all. So it's like, if you really care about the characters, you might love this. But it's like they're not really fighting. They just do a bunch of emoting and backstabbing or whatever. So it's just, I don't know. Like I said, I give or take it. But I can see if you really care about these characters, this being
I, I
interesting, I guess.
I can't wait to talk about Rizzo convince him to actually wrestle in a bit. Anyway, Miles Bourne beat Lexus King. I mean, at least he's being booked, you know. Lani Reed beat Thea Hale. Izzy Damon, Tatum Paxley represented the Culling in a tag match against Zarya and Sol Ruka.
Well, Tatum is a
Paxley,
member.
yeah,
We
well,
can
yeah,
confirm that.
exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
Again, they can only allow 4 members. You know what I mean? You got to get rid of Stenson to get one in. They don't tell
Right.
us. They don't tell us this stuff.
Right.
Paxi seemed conflicted because she didn't know if they were friends or not. Paxi saved Dame for a spear, which caused Zarya to hit Ruka. This led to Dame hitting a powerbomb on Ruka. And because of this, Izzy gets a shot at Soul at Great American Bash. I mean, that's booking, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I suppose it makes sense, though. She did pin the champ.
Oh yeah, man. Good old New Japan booking, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it'd been nice to kind of know stuff like, what? That's my biggest beef with it is just it'd be nice to know that was on the line in general. It just felt like a regular match. And then at the end, like, oh, you get a title shot now. I was like, oh, yeah, okay, fine. But it was decent. It wasn't bad. I don't mind it. I like Tatum Paxton. I told you I kind of want even with the whole thing with Gigi before they let her go, or Priscilla now. I really like what they had going with her, and I think she has serious potential to be a very interesting character. Going forward, like I see the investment, and I also see a little bit of potential in the ring. I'm not so sure about the matchup with the Culling, but I do say that has at least made me give a damn about them way more. Like including Tatum has at least made me care more about it than I did going into it.
Yeah.
Even if I do think it might just be easy taking advantage of her or whatever, I think for now it's at least making them at least more interesting than anything they had going before she was involved. And then like Sol Ruka, I think this is just a chance to see what Izzy got, because I think we already know what we see. We see the potential. We see it's obvious with Sol Ruka. And I think we all know that at some point the Zarya stuff, we keep talking about it on this show, but at some point the Zarya relationship is gonna turn into it. But until then, let's test some of these this big illustrious roster you have of women. Let's test them and put them in the ring with people like Soruka and see, are they ready for that position. So I don't necessarily mind Izzy getting the title shot, but yeah, it was kind of shocking.
Yeah. We got Jasper Troy versus Yoshiki Inamura next. Number contendership for the NXT title. I mean, Inamura's a big guy, but Troy dwarfed him inside. Obafemi was shown watching from backstage. Inamura made a comeback and maybe a slightly unexpected outcome. Inamura ended up scoring the win with a huge splash from top rope. He will fight Obafemi for the title at Great American Bash, and Javon Evans ended up attacking Troy afterwards. So it looks like we know that next feud will be as well. I mean, again, this was good because it's covered a bit of business stuff on it.
Yeah, it was logical stuff, man. Especially if you think about the card that we're gonna get into for Great American Bash. It all made sense. This is fine. I do have a question about Jasper Troy, which we'll see. It seems to be getting answered as we speak, because they do seem to be very like. If there's one thing about it, I give them props. They've been giving him the spotlight and putting him on television. He doesn't really, in my opinion, doesn't really interest me so far, because I think we'll talk about it later. But they made a. I think Javon gonna talk about it, but like he's just the only thing about him I know is that he's just big and angry. So
He
like,
likes chains.
yeah. So exactly. So we're gonna have to build this right. We have to figure out. We have to give him something else too, to kind of flesh this out a little bit more. But I understand that they see a lot of potential in him. My only thing is, should he even be in number? I know he gave old boy a run for their money, the way they put it, but uh, can he be in these type of matches if he can't fight 10-minute matches? Pretty much. You know what I'm saying? That's my only thing. It's like he really on average is about a little less than 10 minutes almost at this point in his career. So it's like, is that how you make us take him seriously by putting him in those spots? Or, can you actually see him being in that spot other than just being because he dwarfs everybody? Are we in that? I think like is our division. I think that might be what it is. It might be the men's division. It's so like we need somebody to threaten over so bad. That's why you fast track a Troy into this spot. But other than that, like you said, the match is fine.
Yeah, thank fuck Ron Wagner's still not around. This week's
Right.
NXT ended with a promo segment with Jordan Grace and JC Jane to hype the match at Evolution. Particularly, it turned into a fight. Fateful Influence had the numbers advantage, but Blake Monroe made the save. Ava came out and booked a match for Great American Bash. Monroe and Grace entered the show standing tall. But I think business as usual there, Monty. And again, a lot has happened between Monroe
A
and
lot
Grace,
has
but at this
happened.
point, it was fine.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was just beautiful. The budding friendship, right? This is like you said, a good piece of business. I mean, they both kind of had problems with the toxic attraction, fatal attraction, whatever, wherever we are with the name. I still don't get the name right half the time, but they still had a problem with that with the group, and uh, so it all makes sense to kind of bow it up and make a match for Great American Bash. So I was at this point, I was just excited to kind of get a chance to see Blake actually get in the ring in an official capacity. So I thought this was a good way to kind of do that. So especially with the title match being at Evolution, instead of like Jordan's title match being at Evolution, I was like, okay, this is a good way to kind of do two things at once, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, this was fine. I'll take care, and we'll see how this plays out. Like you said, we got a lot of story here coming up.
Well, Impact July 3rd, World Knockouts World Champion Master Slamovich defeated Kid Kelly in a chain match, but it was afterwards that Slamovich was jumped by Fatal Influence, led by NXT Women's Champion JC Jane. Zaya Brookside was there trying to come to aid, but didn't help. And it was announced at Slammiversary, the reigning TNA Knockouts World Champion Master Slamovich will battle NXT Women's Champion either JC Jane or Jordan Grace for both titles in a historic winner-take-all title versus title match. At that point, I was like, what on earth? Because it hadn't even been mentioned in NXT. And Monday, I mean, again, to talk about predictions of anything like this is why I thought, well, it's got to be Masha and JC because JC's been on Impact the past few weeks. And again, NXT have not mentioned this. So I just like, what?
Yeah, no, and that was a good like point at the time. And like again, I think this kind of goes into what we'll talk about that they're kind of incorporating into JC's persona. That kind of led me when I heard it. My initial reaction was like, "Oh, okay, we're getting a rematch of that great title match that Jordan and Masha had in the past." And that's just the way to doing it. But what you said made perfect sense. And I think that's kind of you do it. You play off the impact history that Jordan has, and that's the reason why it didn't come off like a immediately like a
Mm.
spoiler or anything. So yeah, man. But I don't know. I'm just like you, man. I was definitely still shocked. I don't know if this is because they don't feel like the knockout division is the deepest, and like they're sending women over there anyway. Like that's kind of like my thought process. My thought process is like, so far they've kind of kept Masha separated for the most part from what they've been doing. So it's been really interesting to me to see what's Impact's angle here, for doing a match like that. But again, I think it's cool though. It's really cool, and like I do think it's stuff like that did help what we'll talk about for Slammiversary, like their attendance and stuff like that. I do think
Mm.
building up a card like that does add excitement because I was excited for it. I just was like, there's no way Jason James getting this spot, right?
Well, look, again with JC Jane, yeah, she's proven me wrong countless times. But again, at
No,
this
not
point, I
just you,
thought, well,
buddy.
Well, again, but at least I thought like, well, Masha can beat JC. Do you know what I mean? I think, yeah, of course she
True,
can. The only reason I
100%.
mentioned, yeah, the only reason I mentioned Matt Cardona defeating Eddie Edwards is because Dark State arrived in TNA and they just made Matt Cardona a brutal 4-on-1 beatdown. And then
Somebody
we
asked me
had,
what they do, like why they do what they do. Still ain't got that answer, by the way. We're just
oh,
gonna
I
move
don't
on.
know. Even look, we're getting to it, yeah. On the debut edition of the King's Speech with Frankie Kazarian, he welcomed Trick Williams, Joe Hendry, and Mike Santana. Of course, Kaz sides with Trick, as all of them trade bards. Kaz provides distraction, and Trick attacks Henry and Santana from behind, and Trick and Kaz stand tall. And I tell you something, we're going to talk a lot about Trick. Trick is really, I know he's saying he's not, but he really has got in with the Impact guys. You know, there was even
Yeah,
a thing before Slammiversary where they're doing like a softball tournament, and he was doing it. So I don't care what you say. Do you know what
yeah.
I mean? He is.
His character is saying one thing, but his actions are saying like he's basically a honorary Impact member. He like signed at this point after becoming champion because like I agree. And then then think about like to me what Frankie represents. I know he's like I guess he's been a bad guy in this situation, but like Frankie represents like the lifeblood at this point of like a veteran Impact guy, in my opinion. So, like, it's still to me, even with his antics here, it still just shows like, oh no, Trick is not necessarily.
Mhm.
It's not like he's making all enemies. Like, it's people love that Trick is here right now. You know, like you mentioned top, oh not top dollar, but AJ Francis, and what he got that relationship there. So yeah, man, Trick is doing a great job, and I think as we talk more about it, that's kind of like one of my the highlights. That's what make it. And not to say I'm only tuning in because Trick is showing up on Impact basically weekly, but like he's done a great job, and that's the reason why I would love. I can't wait to talk about it, but like I would love to talk to you and just any other people who really into Impact, like what they actually think about Trick's work because he's been a highlight for me with just the way he's even when he talked down on Impact, I just think he's been doing great work in this character currently, and this is a great example of it.
Yeah, without a doubt. We'll get to it. July 8th, NXT. This week's NXT Open with Ricky Saints taking on all three members of Evolve's Vanity Project. Ethan Page was there to provide support for the young trio. After Googling, the three were called Brad Baylor, Ricky
Mm-hmm.
Smokes, and Evolve champion
Ricky
Jackson
Smokes.
Drake. Ricky Smokes is a bit meh, yeah, exactly. But there's nothing I like about Vanity Project, so I guess they're doing good job as heels. All right, I'll give you that credit. Saints won and picked up a full count in the match versus Ethan Page. But Monty, this is the future. They're just showing it to us, but this is what we're gonna have to go through.
Yeah, man. It's just like you said, it's one of those things where where we just kind of got to prepare yourself for what's going on. It was obvious, but I do think Ricky ended up. I mean, really, we got to talk. Like I said, I've seen people who said so far Ricky has been getting destroyed. I mean, like buried or whatever. Overall, if they look at Ricky's run, they feel like he's getting the shovel. And I'm like, I don't necessarily see that, but like this is something in my opinion where you can't be like, well, he beat three guys in one night. Can't say I'm getting buried now and stuff like that. That's what it felt like to me. So, it was cool. It was a good gauntlet. Even though they were like WWID or like Evolve, even though I thought Smokes I can see a little bit, and I think that's the point is to basically get these guys in the ring with a guy like Ricky, a vet. Something that if you watch his interview with Cody Rhodes that Ricky Saints did, you start to find out that Ricky's already kind of become an NXT locker room leader because, he's already more experienced, which makes sense. He's more experienced than a big chunk of the roster. So him and Ethan Page have kind of taken a lot of these people under their wing. So I think that's also a part of this. So it's really cool when you think about it like that way. When you think, to just think about what Ricky's standing is already in the NXT locker room. But I thought this was a good moment for Ricky to look strong, and I didn't mind any other young guys. But yeah, I think, like you said, you'll probably be seeing a lot more of them instead of a
Yeah.
lot less of them.
Grayson Monroe had a glamorous workout. I'm not saying No Court Catch Crew is the worst group ever, but it's up there. Just because people don't
Yeah,
want to be part of the
I was
team,
just about to say it's pretty bad,
That's the
man. No,
issue.
I'm gonna say it's pretty bad. Say what you want about what Slapjack and Ali. What was Ali group name? Or, I don't forgot their names. They up there though. They up there with
Yeah.
Mace and Slapjack and like this is bad. This is
Oh
bad. Like
God.
they don't even want to be in the group. Like I've never seen that before. I've never seen the characters in the group on television. Like I've seen people like they lose theme or whatever, but like the actual characters that we're watching don't want to be involved. That's
Yeah,
pretty
like
bad.
what is Dempsey doing? Like, what's he doing? That is so bad. That's what I don't understand. Tavian Heights battled Charlie Dempsey. Dempsey actually won a match when Ren Sinclair ended up thrown in the towel for Heights. I mean, was it planned? Do we care? Who knows? Javon Evans was attacked by that big fella with a chain twice. Javon did back down. I actually forgot his name. So I was just like, big fella with a chain, that will do. Tyson DuPont and Tyler Igwe took on TNA's Joe Hendry and Mike Santana with Wesley at ringside. Trick Williams showed up to attack Hendry, leaving Santana to fend for himself. Fortunately for him, he was able to get the win of his own. Hills beat down the TNA boys afterwards. But it looks like Mike seems to be the front runner right now, especially, overcoming the odds as he did.
Yeah, man. I mean, he was definitely. I mean, once he got added to the match, he was kind of my pick. But like now, he was just dead. It's like you could just tell. Like you look at booking like this, like oh yeah, man, he's definitely gonna be involved, or he should be. So yeah, he feels like he's definitely closer to getting that achievement than even the former champion is at this point. But this was like you said, solid again. Even Wesley's faction is proven to be incompetent. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about that, but yeah, man, good moment for Mike. Always, like I said, nice way to kind of build towards the triple threat. But yeah, I mean, what is that? What more can I say about High Ride?
No, I think we've mentioned him more in this update than they have in NXT. So do you know what I mean? Fair play
Right.
to us. Femi
Exactly.
and Yoshiki Nomura had a face-to-face meeting ahead of the NXT title match at the Great American Match. Not much happened, but the video package for Inamura with the Noah wrestlers and the Great Muta was brilliant. Why don't they do more of this, Monty? Do you know what I mean? Like they've got access to these guys. Like it actually feels like Inamura's got a chance here.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it definitely makes you wonder why they don't play into it as much as they could. Why don't they use the relationship more? Also, it's just one of those things. But it was definitely well done. I mean, like I said, if it's one group, I don't care how confusing. Hell, this is a perfect example. I'm glad you brought this video package up because I couldn't stand the Gunther Goldberg match. Did not care much for the build. That's why Goldberg interviews after the fact about how much he wanted and actually being on PLE and he's just mad about how this played out. I'm like, Goldberg, I couldn't stand the little bit of time you was here. So it's amazing that you wanted to be around more and wanted to make this even more of a spectacle or whatever. So okay, Goldberg, you complain all you want. But anyway, besides that, I couldn't stand it. But the video package for it, oh, you couldn't tell me that wasn't the biggest match. One of the biggest matches coming up that weekend when it comes to Saturday Night Event. Like the video package team with WWE is always top notch. No matter what kind of slop angle you have, the video package can make it look beautiful when it comes to WWE. So they're really good at that. But whoever came up with the idea, like you said, to involve the Noah tie-in and Muda and all that, yeah, man, kudos, man. You deserve a bump in pay.
Yeah, and it's always weird to see like the rest of you seeing like New Japan or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? On NXT, even if it's in like a video clip, because for a second you go, "What am I watching?" Oh no, I know where I am. I know where I am. It's just going to confuse me. Up next was Laney Reed losing to Kalani Jordan. Thea Howell tapped Reed after the match and drove her out the arena. But it was nice to see Jordan pick up a win. Rizzo was back from the safe house. She oversaw a meeting between Tony D'Angelo, Luca Cruzavino, and Channing Stacks Lorenzo. She had to force them to wrestle. She said, "Come on, guys, please, please, let's just have a match." They were like, "A match? What are you talking about, honey? I don't do matches. What are you talking about?" And she got them a triple threat match to hopefully finish this family feud. And the week's main event saw Hank and Tank defend their newly won tag titles against Sean Spears and Nico Vance of the Culling. This was a fun back and forth fight. There, I said it. Hank and Tank scored the win. The Culling came close and did look good. But again, Monty, I have to mention it. We still miss Fraxium. I mean, Hank and Tank, though, to their credit, are doing all right. And the Culling, to their credit, got rid of Jensen. So
Yeah, man. I'm gonna be honest with you, Jay. The tag division outside of the SmackDown tag division in general right now is just,
Mm.
man. You know, it's tough. I don't know what's going on, but what I will say is you're not necessarily wrong about Hank and Tank. They have been working hard, in my opinion, to kind of establish themselves and put themselves as when they're on TV and when they're actually having matches. I have been entertained by their work. My problem is, like you mentioned, we definitely miss Fraction, and Fraction has the ability to pretty much put on a good match with everybody. So it's really not fair to compare. And I know we're talking about NXT here, so that kind of makes it even more unfair almost. But in my opinion, I do believe too that we have to have that a conversation about building an actual division. Like think about it. Like NXT has been top heavy in the tag division for a while now. So I don't know if we'll ever get back to kind of like we had. You remember what it was like? I mean, with the DIYs and the undisputed eras, and like man, those we've had really great tandems and teams in these spots in the past, and now it just don't really even seem like a focus per se. But Hank and Tank are doing their best, and as much as I do not too much care for whatever the Cullen got going on, this was a decent performance.
But again, I don't understand why you don't stick Pretty Deadly back in NXT. You know, just to kind of give them their heat
Yeah,
back or wherever it is, or
I
certain
geez,
teams like this.
that's a good point. Like I don't even know what I didn't. Are they on? They still on SmackDown or Raw?
Well,
I don't
you
know.
always this is the thing, even with like the Miz, you just don't realise they're injured because they don't tell you. They just
Oh
disappear
yeah,
for
yeah.
X
I forgot
amount.
about that. Yeah,
They
yeah,
come back after 3 months and go, well, this guy did it. It's like, but tell us before, and then we know rather than thinking you've been released or something. You know, especially in
exactly.
NXT. Fuck's sake. Anyway, the week show ended with NXT General Manager Ava talking about what is in store for the women's division at Evolution. It said it brings several women who gave a brief promo, including Toxic Attraction, Grace, Legend, and Stephanie Vacqua. I mean, what a reaction. The good old days, Monty, you know. If Maxine wins, I quit. And Julia was quietly in the crowd as well, which was a little bit odd. But again, it was all it was a Stephanie show, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, great way to treat a champion. By
Yeah.
the way, just standing there. Great to
Just
see you,
stand
Julie.
oddly in the crowd. Yeah.
Yeah, great way. I don't know, man. Stephanie's on another planet. To be honest, like uh, it talks about. I guess I see people already having a discussion about will she be fast tracked. She's already got a title. She already got a potential title shot coming. So we'll see, man. But definitely on another level, like you said, she takes over every segment, everything that she's involved in. And when you have that type of it factor about you, think good things are gonna happen, man. So I did like this segment though, because I do feel like at the time, and you know what, I complained about it mostly because it was a main roster show and it was something that was supposed to include all of the women. So I was definitely, and I'm still kind of not confused, but not really didn't really like whatever Triple H's effort towards the show was. Didn't really like it leading up to it, but it actually is very fitting when you really think about what we talk about, James, on a weekly basis. That NXT carried the load when it comes to like building up this match, building up Evolution in general, because truly where we are in NXT right now is the strong suit when it comes to the women's division and when it comes to women's wrestling, I mean, they say the best women's wrestling division in the world, and you know, I can you can argue you can't really argue, especially when you take into account having Stephanie just a few months ago, having Jordan Grace, having Julia, having everything that we've had over the years, and then even who they're starting to build up now. We're so deep, man. We're so lucky to be in this era. So it was very fitting when I watched this segment that it is NXT doing such a good time. I mean, good job in my opinion to kind of build hype towards Evolution.
Yeah, without a doubt. Impact July 11th Knockouts World Champion Master Slamovich and Li Ying Lee defeated NXT Women's Champion Jace Jane and Fallon Henley. NXT hasn't mentioned this yet either, I should say. I blame Dan for Enzo More's return to wrestling that I watch, you motherfucker. First Class World Tag Team First Class and the Nemesis, who were the tag team champions, defeat the Hardys and the Rascals. Trick helped AJ get the win, and afterwards they looked to dish out more punishment until Mike Santana Joe Hendry made the save, but disaster struck when Hendry inadvertently hit Santana. Oh,
Ooh.
and tensions boiled over there. Wow. And then July 12th, it's Great American Bash. I like to think this is the forgotten show of the weekend because even NXT didn't want this show, really, you know. But we're going to do it. Kickoff was Mega Moran and Sam Robertsburg. Sam was a bit off in the studio. Jasper Troy had a sit down. Briggs told Inamura he's got his back. Can you make it more obvious? Please make it more obvious what you're going to do. Anyway, Izzy Dame sat down. We got Fatal Influence sit down as well. Well, JC did it alone for Fallon. The other one showed up. And then here we go. It was under 2 hours watching the replay as well, which again just shows you. I did like the opening celebrating 40 years of the Great American Bash. And like you said, Monty, it's great, the production team, but also it's good to know WCW did do some things right. You know, history might not say that, but they did a pretty good job setting up the Great American Bash 40 years ago.
Man, Eric Bischoff is like he cracked a smile somewhere. I know somebody finally complimented WCW, not just reminding him of the failure that took place. But yeah, man, I do think that it's like a nod. Even Halloween Havoc that we still have happen yearly for NXT. You know, NXT, as you know, we talked about it. I mean, when the In Your House thing was, even though I know it's not a WCW nod, but they do a good job of kind of giving you a nod to the history, to the past. I'm kind of happy the Great American Bash has stayed alive, even in this incarnation, because growing up, I did enjoy watching the Great American Bash, even WWE's version that was kind of continued. So, yeah, man. Like you said, the production team, the nice, the set, and then everything we had going on, they still put in a good effort for like a show like you mentioned that was kind of in a tough spot overall, you know.
Yeah, well, I don't upset Eric Bischoff even more, but it was Dusty Rhodes who created Great American Bash. I know Bish did a lot in WCW at the time,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah. I didn't mean to say that
yeah,
he
no,
created
yeah,
it.
I
I'm
know
just
he's saying.
saying. Right, gotcha. Okay.
He's listening to this and like, look, I've had enough this week, right, guys?
Right, right. Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, sorry, Eric. Yeah, we start with John Evans versus Jasper Troy. This was a very fun David versus Goliath match that saw Troy toss Evans around the ring, overpowering and punishing a small opponent for the majority of the bout. Like that epic low, like I remember it, it was Evans who was able to outlast the Giant, even overcoming a rib injury to stack the rookie big man up and score the roll up victory. Monty, what were your thoughts on this?
I think this felt like definitely something that felt like a nod to like some of the best features of a Shawn Michaels match, and it wasn't like I'm not trying to act like it was one of the greatest big man, smaller guy type of deals. But I think Javon Evans' selling of the ribs was very very great, and like it's one of those things that where you watch. I watched this match and I saw the little things when it comes to Javon, and I'm like, he might be ready now. I know he's young and I get it, but it might be time for main event type of deals because, like I said, those are the little things. We know he can. We know what he is as an athlete. We know he can do all types of things. But the way he was selling and kind of putting over the power of a Jasper Troy and making him look like even more of a beast than he already looked like, I thought was like the best element in my opinion. It was hard hitting, and I thought the psychology was there, even with Troy being so green and still, kind of, you know, in this situation where I think he's kind of being pushed more so because of his size, because he's so threatening. Then I think he's actually ready. Because I just mentioned 10 minutes. This is the first kind of deal we kind of watch him go 15 minutes, and I don't think he did horrible. I just know that he got a ways to go in a lot of other ways, and I think he'll be fine. But I think Javon, in my opinion, shined with the little things in this match and kind of making me believe in the underdog fight, even if it wasn't like the craziest big man, smaller guy type of deal that I've ever seen. So I thought this was really good. It wasn't, maybe my expectations wasn't already high because again of what I kind of think about Troy at this stage, but I do believe that Javon Evans did what I think he needed to do, and then also, like I mentioned going into this, I didn't mention, but when we talked about predictions, before this show, I mentioned I needed Javon to finally get a PLE win. So I did like the gutsy performance was finally a way for him to get over the hump because whether as great as his performances have been, he hadn't had a big PLE win before this. So I thought they ticked every box for me coming into this, and it was solid.
Yeah, I mean, an interesting match to start with. But again,
True.
the crowd was okay. This wasn't perfect, but still good. And like you said, Javon looks like he's next in line, even though the line isn't that busy at the moment. But again,
Right.
still good for Javon. What would you give it out of five?
I'll give it three and a half. I don't like I said, I don't it wasn't offensive, but I'm not gonna act like they wrestled their tails off. I thought they did a really good job of keeping it simple, telling a good underdog type story where Javon survived. So I see that three and a half.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it three and three quarters. Predictions. Well, the prediction league after All In. Do you know how confusing it was, Monty, to try and do All In predictions before like Evolution
Yeah.
and also and try and separate them, get it all right. So hopefully at the moment this is fine. So the prediction league right now, the bonus league is Gina's on 10, Jax is on 13, I'm on 14, Monty's on 17, and then WWE Monty on 6. Jaxie on 5, Gina on 4, James on 2, AEW Monty on 3, Gina on 2, Jaxie 1, I'm on 0. And I will say, after Evolution, which we'll do next week, it should all be up to date. So if any of the scores aren't right, if you're hearing this, you go, wait a minute, it is sorted. We all went Jasper, apart from me, so it means I'm on 0 and the rest are on 1. We've got Soul and Zaria interviewed backstage. And then we got the NXT North American Championship match, Soul Ruka versus Izzy Dame, and Tatum slapped Zaria straight away, which was quite funny. But despite a tremendous showing from Izzy Dame in her first major singles match on a premium live event, Soul successfully attained her NXT Women's Champion in the first women's match of the weekend. I mean, Monty, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're 100% right. I mean, it was the finish for me. I mean, not the finish, but the match for me came. I came into it kind of expecting a different type of deal. But like I mentioned earlier, I definitely thought that this was a chance for Izzy to kind of show what she can do in this match. Soul Ruka is very fun. I do think she still has a little bit of room to grow in these situations. And I think as much as I talk about Izzy, I think this is also kind of a chance to see can she carry as champion the lesser experienced Izzy, and I didn't think they did horrible. I thought they did a decent time. I mean, I thought it was a decent. I thought they had decent chemistry. But yeah, man, I thought that Izzy did. I don't know. If I said she was passing or failing the test, I wouldn't say she failed. And I think that's pretty much what you're looking for in this situation with somebody like her. But yeah, man, I thought this was solid. It wasn't too dramatic either, which is probably what I would want more for like a title match like this is to kind of feel like Soul was more at risk than she actually seemed to be. But that every title match don't have to be like that. I thought it was a solid defense.
Yeah, without doubt. I think, like I said, Soul is really good. I wanted more from Zaria at ringside, but like I said, we're getting there slowly but surely. I didn't like Soul's outfit with the lacer outfit, kind of being a tripping hazard, but that's just me, I'm like. And I don't know about you, Monty, but seeing the culling is just like, I miss Metaphor, man. Just imagine if you had another group, two men, two
Yeah.
women they could feud with.
You mentioned this, you're gonna laugh at this. I see the color and I'm like, man, you remember the dyad? You remember when being a creepy cult can be at least interesting looking? Now I complain. Remember when they were here? Oh, the dyad, but like, hey, without them, I'm like, maybe it wasn't that bad. But yeah, no, I don't know, man. Like I said, I just don't care too much, and I think that's probably the thing that make you think about. At least with Metaphor, we were interested in whatever they had going. They had so much potential. So I think that's kind of like what's disappointing about the metaphor situation, and then seeing the Cullen kind of get this spotlight and get this TV time. But even with having them together though, they could make the Cullen more interesting because you have to a two guys team, two women team. You could do something there. You can have fun with it. But we kind of missed out on that opportunities. But
Mhm.
yeah, one of those things. But again, I think the girls did fine.
Yeah, I'm going to give this a 4. What would you score it?
3 3/4.
3 3/4. Predictions, you all went Dame apart from Monty. So it means Monty's on 2, Jaxie Gina on 1, and I'm on 0. Look, I don't really watch NXT anyway, guys. Anything goes. Falls count anywhere next. Ricky Saints versus Ethan Page. A wildcatic brawl, spears from the ring to the stands of the backstage arena and to the back of the area where it reached the crescendo on a Great American Bash stage. There, Battered and Bruce Saints utilised officials as a base for his tornado DDT on Page, but all they kicked out. We should also say backstage champion sent Saints into Jasper Troy, who was sulking, and delivered a black hole slam on a challenger onto an anvil case. And then Page managed to hoist Saints overhead and delivered the Eagle's Edge off the stage through 2 tables to the floor. And then 3 seconds later, the most hated man in NXT scored the win and a successful title defense. Monty, what were your thoughts?
Anyway, sorry about that. Sorry, I was. Am I still here?
Yes, you are. Yeah, God, you panicked me, like I tell you.
All
Oh
right. Well,
my
sorry
God.
about that. Yeah. I was speaking on mute, and then my baby ran in here, so yeah,
That's fine.
you
It's
got
fine.
you guys missed chaos. Anyway, uh, so we're okay. You talk about the Ricky match. You know, this one is where I'm like, if you are one of those people who feel like Ricky's getting better, you might read this result and just be like, my God. But you know what, man? These dudes, man, I think that's the way Ethan Page wants me to feel. As somebody who wants Ricky to succeed and felt like this is probably the time to do it and whatever, if you're going to run with it, hell, man, this match right here, man, they went out there and they was like, we're gonna try to steal the weekend, in my opinion. And like you said, it's very unfortunate that a match like this is gonna go under the radar because of how much stuff we had and how much good wrestling and that we had that weekend. And that's kind of my whole thing about booking the way they did. Not necessarily that this is anybody on the card fault, but setting it up the way you do. It's just like, man, imagine if this could have got its own Saturday night or on Sunday or whatever to itself, where people could just digest and enjoy these two. Because most of the people I seen watched it, had to go back to check it out, and that's kind of like one of those things that kind of like uh takes away from a match like this. I honestly think too that maybe some people may believe this is they're overexposed, but I just don't think these two can have a bad match. So the fact that this should be probably the last match that they have for a while will be good for them. Maybe if they are still in NXT, they may revisit it much later or revisit it on the main roster. But yeah, I mean, this is just one of those matches where I was just sitting back, and as much as I just hated Troy's involvement, because I told you, I don't like the fact that the only thing I know about him is he's angry. So you know what I mean, and all this. So it's just like,
Yeah.
I guess you can rationalize it because he's just been kind of like an untamed, like you said, chained man now, pretty much. But still, it was just like, oh, okay, that's how we're gonna do it, whatever. But so that part I didn't like, but the actual wrestling and just like what those two guys, Ethan and Ricky, what they did to each other, and just the way they fight, tell me that these two guys just don't have fantastic chemistry. I really enjoyed that part of the match. But yeah, when you get to the cheapness of it all, that part I could do without. I kind of wish we kind of had it another way. I understand Ethan's a heel. I'm not saying he needs to win differently, but I am saying that I could do without that. But Ricky and Ethan themselves, kudos, man. They might not have these. They might not have a fight again in NXT, and that might be fine. But I think this is the type of match to where if you're looking at them in their future, I can see them both on the main roster doing great stuff because of this feud, and this match is a great example of it.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like I said, the video package for this was excellent and made it seem Ricky had the connection with the fans, which sadly is still missing. Page was decked in US colours, of course, and he is one of the best heels in the business right now. And again, the chair around the neck used is just a move, but, oh, go over it. But the finish looked great, and like I said, these two guys gave everything. I'm going to give it a 4.5. Monty, what would you score it?
Same thing, 4.5.
Yeah, it's got to be 4.5. Predictions, all Ricky, apart from Jaxie, who went for Ethan Page. So Monty and Jaxie on 2, Gina's on 1, and I am yet to score. But luckily, the TNA Championship match contract signing was next, so I can't get any points here either. All three said their piece. I bet the main event of the July 20th extravaganza with Williams showcasing the braggadocios that helped him become an effective heel, as we've spoken about. Hendry and Santana tired of the NXT star holding their title, running his mouth, put him through the table. And after the segment, Dark State appeared and laid out the challenges while Williams watched from the ramp. But it was weird. But again, it's nice for TNA to get some limelight, you know? The match feels big, you know? I mean, I'd rather have Trick defend here or have AJ Francis him versus Mike and Joe. But again, can't have everything, you know?
Yeah, I'd rather have a match. I definitely would rather have a match in this spot. But I'm not mad at it because, like you said, it's kind of unique because there's impact involved. I just really, I'm mad, and I feel, and you're gonna laugh at this, but like I'm still going back to that triple threat, or either, I think, yeah, it was a triple threat with Javon, Trick, and Over. And I'm still mad that they just didn't pull the trigger and let Trick run Dark State. And it's not because I think Dark State got anything or anything. It's just like you guys have done. How many times are you gonna attack everybody but Trick and then have the appearance of like involvement with Trick? And then, but not. I don't know. I don't know. It's just like that's the only thing annoying about the Dark State. Whenever Trick is involved, I go back to that match and I'm just like, you could have pulled the trigger months ago and at least gave them some type of direction. Even though Trick at this point, like you said, with Francis and AJ, they have so many allies at this point.
Mm.
He is chock full of allies. So yeah, I mean, again, this is fine. I have no problem with it. But I'm like you, man. You could have gave me just a, like you said, kind of. I mean, look at what we're getting in the main event. It's basically a tag or something to advance a storyline
Yeah.
leading to a title match. So you could have did that also here, in my opinion.
Yeah, and again, it was funny because Trick was talking about being the greatest TNA champion of all time. And the crowd even said AJ Styles is. So, you know, there we go. That's fact. NXT Championship match. Oba Femi, who's fast becoming the greatest NXT champion of all time, versus Yoshiki Inamura. And Inamura took the fight to Femi, matching his physicality, strength, and fury, and nearly defeating him. Later in the match, Josh Briggs attempted to take advantage of a referee bump, catching the champion in the back of the head with a title. But Inamura wanted nothing to do with winning that way and denounced his partner's interference. Unfortunately, it proved to be his undoing as Oba Femi delivered full from grace to win the match and retain his title. I mean, Monty, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think honestly, man, I I, I think it was so set piece based that I was just I'm very confused. Not that it was a bad match. Don't get me wrong. I was into it, especially by the end. But it had stuff that felt like even with the Briggs stuff and all of that, or like the rare spots. It had so much stuff that I'm just not used to. Maybe for an Open Femi match, so maybe that's probably why it kind of threw me off. But they did a good job. I thought it was still physical. I think they could have done more. I think you kind of can see the potential for more, and I think that's what's got. And when we talk about Great American Bash as a whole, I think that's definitely what more I'll get into. Is that I don't know why it just felt like maybe it's because of the placement, and we can talk about that. But yeah, man, it felt like they definitely could have went a little bit harder when you think about an NXT title match. I think after watching the match, I understood why it wasn't the main event, even though, in my opinion, world title matches not being the main event, or not even just that. Not that it wasn't even the main event. It wasn't even the first match. Like you said, weird placement altogether. And when you think about how parts of this card was put together, because having them placed here also just kind of set me up. There was no way I knew like the placement. I'm like, well, Oba ain't losing. I know that much. Don't know if it's gonna be what type of finish we're gonna get, but it's like no way that he's losing, right? So even but they did. Even with that being said, I thought they did a good job of making it seem like anymore actually could beat him, which is something that again with Obafemi's run, I'm not so used to. So this is definitely one of like the most amount of fun I probably had all night with that. As much as I talk about those set pieces, but you could just tell that it was certain moments in this match that was just set up to happen the way it was, and like once you kind of pay attention to it, it's kind of hard to distract from that instead of them just having a match and letting things happen. But WWE love their drama, so I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I just think that I kind of want anymore and Overfemi to just go out there and you'll get a kick out of this. You've been watching the G1. I would like them to just go out there and just like start just chopping the hell out of each other and beating just two big guys just beat the hell out of each other like a Takeshi the G1 match or something. But I know that's not necessarily the style that they wanted in it, that they want maybe for over in NXT. But just imagine two guys like that just going at it. That's kind of like what I wanted. And we kind of got some of that, but they wanted to tell a story with Briggs and they wanted to kind of show Any Moore's character and all that, and that's fine too. But that's probably, like I said, the only thing that rubbed me the wrong way was that I kind of just wanted them to just go out there and fight if we're gonna do this. But it was solid. It was still good.
Yeah. Well, like I said, Obi's been put there in all styles, like I said, so it's nice to see. But again, it is the WWE style of whatever, you know what I mean, coming in. So
Right.
it's going to be a little bit different. I mean, them will look good in defeat, and Briggs is just a fucking prick, there is no doubt.
Yeah.
just no. And again, we spoke about it. Javon is the only one near right now, isn't he? We talk about what's next. That is the match. There is nothing. There was one thing actually, but again, if I can remember, we'll talk about it later. But yeah, Javon is the one nearby. What would you score this one?
I'll give it 4.25. Again, I thought it was entertaining, and I don't mind any of that story stuff I'm talking about. But I just feel like when you got guys like an Enamore who I know can wrestle a physical style, and you got a guy like Obafemi who's just overwhelming. Again, maybe it's a little bit of that G1 in me that's talking and make me want that. But again, when I look back at this match, I just wanted a little bit more of just a straight up big title match feeling fight instead of like so much added drama. But again, I still understood what they were trying to do, so I gave it 4.25.
Yeah, I'll give it 4.25 as well. Predictions, we went Oba, so it means I'm on 1, Gina's on 2, Monty Jackson on 3. In the main event, Jordan Grace and Blake Monroe versus Fatal Influence. Jordan Grace and Blake Monroe were already a problem for Fatal Influence entering the main event, but after it, there's no denying that Jane, Henley, and Nick Stranglehold in the women's division is in danger. Grace Monroe overcame a strong effort from Jane and Henley and benefited from Masha Slamovich appearing and offsetting Nick's to pick up the win. And of course, this was Blake Monroe's debut. Monty, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of heard mixed. I remember the night of watching it. It was my first initial takeaway. That's why I had to go back and rewatch it because you're 100% right about trying to take away from this card after everything we watched that weekend is tough. My initial takeaway was I wrote it down. This is fine, but it felt kind of TV-ish main event tag match feeling, and I think that was the kind of that kind of let me down at the time because again it's probably Great American Bash PLE, but again with everything on their plate and all the cards and stuff, I can be forgiven. And then looking back at it, like you mentioned, I was like, well, you know what? They actually told a pretty decent story, and I thought everybody worked well together. I thought Blake got a chance to shine, even if it wasn't like a full fledged just like showcase of her skill. I think she did the best she could in this environment when you think about the story again that they're trying to tell with Fatal Attraction and with everything going on with Masha Slamovich. They did a good job of incorporating Impact too. So that like again, that's kind of stuff I kind of like looking back at it. But at the time, I just was like, oh, this is fine. I don't know why the hell this is the main event. I mean, nice to see Blake and them standing tall. That was my initial takeaway. So I don't know if I should have done points with it because that's just how I felt. But when you take in everything into account, I thought it was a solid enough main event. I don't know how you felt. Like, did you think this should have been the main event?
I just thought it's just what event wasn't needed, you know what I mean? And again, like I
Yeah,
said, it was struggling for a main event.
yeah,
And again, it's nice to see the women main event. I'm not complaining about
right.
that, but you want stakes, and again, this is something that's I think missing. I found it with TNA a little bit as well. With Scott D'Amore's booking, who's doing well elsewhere now. I think Maple Leaf Pro. It was like the matches came around, but they needed to be on an event. You know what I mean? Rather than an event being there, then having to make matches. And I think WWE and AEW both fall into that hole sometimes where, and again, especially with Evolution and Next Night and stuff, Blake pinning the champion, kind of, you're thinking, what's going on here? But yeah, it was just it was an interesting night. What I did quite like is Fallon is kind of the glue of Fatal Influence. You know, so even JC, who's like the champion, I was still more impressed with Fallon.
Yeah, but I mean, going into this faction, and I know you didn't. I told you. I remember. I said, I know. I told you. I know she still got the stank of the cowboy she used to hang around on her. I understand it, but I'm trying to tell you, Fallon Henley it got something there. She's solid. So that's why when you look at the faction, and she's not the one to become. She became North American champion, which I thought,
Mm.
all right. So they understand that Fallon got something, right? But then you look at this for JC to be the one there's like, wow, like, okay, I didn't see that one, but okay. But still, yeah, Fallon, in my opinion, she's going to be the one. I don't know. I'm not, maybe I'm tripping and we'll see. Maybe JC Jane actually is the one who is the breakout star. But in
We're
my
doing a Hall
opinion,
of Fame, yeah, Hall of Fame
right,
speech of
yeah,
JC
maybe
Jane
she,
in 20 years
right.
ago. We were both wrong.
We were dead wrong about Jason James, man. She's the greatest, one of the greatest of all time. Exactly. So like, but no, to me, from the beginning, like Nix is the prospect. She's the one who has you can see the athleticism. They're still working on character and everything else for her. And then, but like Fallon is the one you gotta watch. Fallon is the one who could be a star sooner than later. But hey, we'll see. But anyway, like you said, I'm with you. Overall, that's kind of like where I was like, it's just like as good as the Ricky Saint Ethan Page match, in my opinion, was great, but it can't save the fact that this wasn't necessary.
Mm-hmm. Without doubt. Main event, then, what would you score out of 5?
Oh, 4.
Give it 4. I'm going to give it a 4.25. Predictions, we want Blake and Grace. So final scores, incredibly, I'm on 2, Gina on 3, and Jaxie. Yeah, I mean, you're listening to this, you bitch. Another fucking win with Monty. So unbelievably. Bonus league now. Gina's on 10. Jaxie's joined me on 14. And Monty, you're on 17. So again, 3-point lead there. But Jaxie is gaining steam. I don't like it. Match of the
Picking it
night.
up.
I know, fair play. I'll never say it to her face. Match of the night is Ricky Saints versus Ethan Page. I think we can
Yeah,
both agree on
easily.
that. So MVP and rating then for this show.
See, that's the tough one.
Mm.
Initially, I was thinking about like maybe giving MVP to Blake because it's like a fresh beginning for her, and this is the beginning of that. But looking back at it, man, I gotta give Ricky even more props. Again, because so many people can have a poor attitude about being asked to lose a championship and do this, but in my opinion, and I don't know how he felt about it. I'm not like I got any insight on it. But what I'm saying is the way he wrestled in a loss, in my opinion, just really impressed me. And I just felt even in a losing effort that that I feel like he can have a bright future just based on being able to do stuff like that and be able to put on performances like that, even in a losing effort. And like also Ethan Page, again, just he's been hitting it out the park. I've never seen a guy like if it's one guy who I think who you wouldn't expect when you just think about it because it's easy anybody can come over or come back from AEW or whatever but when you think about a guy who's embraced it and then went to NXT, in my opinion, and feel like we talk about Lexus King all the time. We talk about some of the other people who've kind of come over, and I just feel like if it's anybody that they need to be asking all types of questions to and figuring out how they've done what they've done is him because he just feels like a completely different animal than the AEW version of himself, if
Yep.
you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. I mean, I love Ethan Page. We're going to talk about him a little bit. What was your rating out of 10? Sorry.
Uh, damn. I don't know how I love one match from the show. So how much can that carry it? I don't let's see. Let's see. It's 5 matches here. Ooh, that ain't a good percentage. I'll give it 7.5.
7.5. Yeah, well, this is the thing. I'm going to give it an 8, and it's low rating. It's probably one of the lowest rated NXT shows we did, but it just wasn't needed. Even the
Yeah,
kind of specials on NXT are better than this. You know,
right.
it was just put there just to kind of stop all in, which again they seem to be using NXT, and it can be against them. But it is nice to see that there is hardcore NXT fans. You know, do you know what I mean? At this event, it was definitely hardcore NXT fans who'd had
Right.
no interest in AEW. So an 8 for me. Evolution was the next night. It was awesome and will be reviewed in full next week. But we did have some NXT interest. JC Jane beat Jordan Grace thanks to Blake Monroe. Monty, I never usually, look at my record. I got this bang on. Bang on. I told you.
Yeah, yeah, man. You got it. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I knew you had it once I watched the damn pre-show and saw her ask Blake to come down. I was just like, oh no, don't be that type of baby face. I understand so far Blake has been great, but like, I mean, unfortunately, and this is the only thing I'll say about it when it comes to this. You can say whatever you want. That's why it's so funny that stuff like this is supposed to be competition for AEW. Tell me that the way they booked her just like that means that they didn't watch AEW. Like that's all I say. That's all I say because you don't have any other sign for her to do that other than the fact that we secretly already know Blake is not a good person. But anyway, Blake and Mariah May kind of bleeded into each other, and that kind of played into the finish. But kudos to Jason James, man, because I came to that match and I was really looking for a reason to be like, you know what, Jason, man, why is she in this spot? She can't hang with Jordan. Her and Jordan, whether it's Jordan making her look good or not, I do think she did a really good job of not sticking out and feeling like somebody who's just been placed here. She looked like a champion at times. She really was doing some of her best work. And I think, like you mentioned, the show up in itself was awesome. So it was great that the NXT title match wasn't something that kind of pulled the show down. That it added to the show and kept everybody hyped with the way we kicked it off. So yeah, man. I mean, honestly, this is a good piece of business. Whether I agree with turning Mariah so soon or not, I thought this was a really good piece of business. And kudos to you, James. You said it, man. You said it was gonna be JC and Marshall.
Yeah. Yeah, and also said Blake would turn as well. Again, I don't get anything right at the moment, so it's nice to have that one thing. So yeah. Again, I'm really
Yeah,
looking
but it
forward to
just
talk.
felt soon. That's all.
Yeah,
It's like
I know. You can't even give me that. I understand. No, again, it's Evolution next week, which I'm really looking forward to. But we've still got NXT to go, and of course Slammiversary on this show. July 15th, NXT Fatal Influence started the show. Jane alluded to Jasmine Nix being the reason they lost at Great American Bash, but said Fallon Henley redeemed herself at Evolution. Master Slammiversary showed up
hey
and said
man,
Blake.
I got a question to you by the way too. How many groups like is this just how they book groups now?
We just
Like
don't like
why
each other.
right?
They
How many
just-
groups secretly hate each other? Like Judgment Day got the whole I hate you thing going. Like what is this? Like is nobody legit? Like why are you guys together?
And why is it the more successful you get, the more you hate each other? Again, it's like if the Four Horsemen wouldn't have worked to the concept. Would do you know what I mean? As that with a group. But anyway, Slamovich did show up and said Blake Monroe is the only reason Jane still has a title. Jane said she would win a knockouts title before Zora and Sol Ruka showed up. Bayface ended up sending the Hills out of the ring and got turned into a fight. Obviously done to set up a 6-woman tag team later. But again, this is what NXT has been. You know what I mean? Sometimes we're setting up the main event. It's nice JC getting a turn. And this is the first mention of Master Slamovich. And I'm not conspiracy theory why they kept it quiet, but they kept it quiet.
You've interested me now. What is the conspiracy?
Well, no, I was just saying, Master Slamovich, the match for the versus JC Jane wasn't mentioned on NXT TV
Mm-hmm.
until after Evolution. And
Yeah,
again, I
we
know
got
might
that.
WWE might do this, but JC had been feuding with Masha for the previous like 3 or 4 weeks on
Right.
TNA, so it just seemed a bit. Do you know what I mean? Like for me, I was like, well, obviously it's going to be Masha and Jane at Slammiversary, but maybe WWE. Again, I'm not saying conspiracy, but they didn't mention this at all until JC was definitely the champion, which I kind of makes a little bit more sense. But like you said, with the Grace thing, might have given a bit more tension.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with you. I think the thing is about that is like you said, I kind of understand it. Part of me as a predictor is like, damn it. But at the same time, I get it because like I was keeping up with it and I knew it. But like I'm gonna break it down to you. A lot of what that's why I kind of like what Jaycee's doing as a character, leaning into the fact that nobody believes that she's supposed to be there because that's mostly what my prediction for Jordan was. I'm like, yeah, James, you right. I know she's been bothering Mafia, but nah, man, let's run that Mafia. Let's run that back. But no, Jason Jane, definitely like I said, the leaning into the fact that nobody believes in it plays a factor. But yeah, man, I didn't. That's a great point. That didn't mention it on NXT at all. And again, I think some of that is by design, and some of that is at the same time. I don't know like how much crossover do you want to have other than the obvious crossover? Like, do you want to keep certain things in the TNA universe versus the you know what I mean,
Mm.
involving everything in NXT. It's very interesting the balance that you must have if you really think about it. So I don't know, but yeah, again, it was good to see Marshall here too.
Yeah, but it's just a bit weird that title versus title, which has seemed quite a big deal, got like a weak
Both,
build, as in
hmm
a weak build and a weak build, weirdly enough.
right.
So, you know, um, anyway, Mike Santana, Joe Henry, Trick Williams took on three members of Dark State.
He didn't worry about AEW to build
Yeah,
things properly.
yeah. Why would Trick team with Joe Hendry and Mike Santana to take on Dark State? We don't know. But anyway, the system showed up from TNA and went after Dark State. Welcome
That's
to
why.
TNA. Again, I hate the system, but I was pleased to see him at this point. It's weird. Carmen Petrus versus Carly Armstrong was interrupted by Jordan Grace, who showed out and took both women to cause a no contest. She
He's
called out
angry.
Monroe. Yes, she is. She explained her actions. Monroe appeared on a big screen from a tub to respond. The only hope for this feud, though, Monty, is that it just doesn't focus on like body. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm worried about. Of like, oh, Grace, you don't look like a woman, etc., etc. Just, I just,
Yeah,
I just feel that it's not needed.
it's
But
it's,
anyway,
it's, it's definitely yeah. I know what you mean. I get it.
yeah,
It's a
you
slippery
know,
slope. Slippery
yeah,
slope
because
there, one, and then two. Yeah, I 100% agree.
But I do like seeing Blake Moreau in the bathtub. So hey, what about that? And then the match we've been waiting for all update: Tony D'Angelo versus Luca Cristofino versus Shannon Stacks Lorenzo. The Don ended up spearing Stacks through the wall before the crow's nest, and then threw him back through the hole. That was
Nice.
funny. Stacks looked like a fish being thrown back through. To be fair, he put
The
Luca.
steel shots make that even better. Like, I don't know if you've seen the photos, just the straight photos from that match, but like, oh my goodness, makes it
Luca
makes it comedy.
Luca got put through the announce table for Stacks. Hit his finisher for the yeah, Stacks with his finisher for the win. Stack looked like a fish. He was talking about. Speaking of which, at this point, I realised I'd missed or had been edited at the Great American Bash with Tony D revealed with the Heritage Cup. He'd put it in a garbage bag and threw it in the river. I mean, what the fuck? Like, are we done? How did I not see? Why did they edit this out? Was it too offensive to the English viewer? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. Right? It's like, hey man, we might have those 15 NXT UK fans are gonna be very, 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 very mad. So let's just not. I didn't. You're right. I never caught that.
That's what I'm saying. So Stacks didn't have it with him, or did he? I mean, why did I miss this? I mean, like I said, we watched a shitload of wrestling recently, but it's just
Yeah.
like, okay. I mean, what's next for the family? Well, of course, Tony will start a new one with a group from a Evolver, a LFG guy, saying, "Don't give up, Tony. Start a new family." So we've got that to come. But interesting times.
Man, what's next for the family? That's a good one. I don't, I don't know, man. Even though I do want whatever they decide to do, I do want Rizzo to continue to talk like that and continue to be that, to be who she is for the rest. Like, no matter what, even if it's no more family, continue to be this overly exaggerated Italian accent and everything, because she brings that to like her social media and she just keeps talking like that. And like, I've seen video of her actual accent, and I just love it. I love the fact that she's that dedicated to it. So yeah, just keep it going, Rizzo. But yeah, man, I don't know, man. I'm just like you. At this point, who knows? I mean, and at this point, you're 100% right about starting a new family. What the hell happened to the new Chase U?
Oh, don't. Don't you hurt his
I'm
feelings,
glad they're
Monty, if you
gone for
mention
now,
it.
but I'm just saying.
You you'll hurt his feelings. You know what happens. They you gotta be kind with them. Um, I don't know. I just hope they get Rizzo to convince Tony of having a match. Do you know what I mean? Like every time Tony has to have a match, we get the Rizzo going, "Come on, you've got
Really
to,
got
Tony. You've got to fight it, Tony."
right.
Um, we'll see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if the fucking family reformed. Do you know what I mean? Like that's way NXT is, isn't it? You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, unless Tony comes out with
Well,
different
like
gimmick
everybody but
items.
Stacks or what?
Yeah. But this is the thing. There is no gimmicks really in NXT. Do you know what I mean? There's no like
Nope.
kind of the characters. It's like even Josh Briggs, and he came out to explain why he turned on Yoshiki Inamura, and it's just like, but I don't know you. Like you talk about with the other fellow I forgot with the chains. Do you know what I mean? He's just Briggs. He's
Right.
a big guy, might be a cowboy. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? And likes people, but obviously got burnt with Brooks. Even if they mentioned that of like this, what happened with Jensen, so I'm making sure it doesn't. But he didn't.
He didn't.
He didn't. He
He
didn't.
don't even want you to remember that.
He didn't say anything. Inamura showed up and it broke down. And the fight was quickly broke up. You know, I can't wait for that triple threat match. Anyway, the week's main event was a six-women tag match set up in the opening segment with Jane, Nixon, Henley taking on Ruka, Zarya, and Slamovich. Damon, Tate, and Paxi came out and all hell broke loose as the Cullen got in the fight at ringside. And Slamovich were able to get the win for a team by pinning Jane. And it was this point I knew I'd fucked up. But
Mm.
again, this wasn't a bad match. Match looked good.
Yeah, yeah. Even me, the fringe Impact watcher I am at this point, was just like, yeah, I don't know, I don't know about the double title match, but it was great, man. I was like I said, just cool to see Masha on WWE television. Great to see her on the radar, I guess, even if it wasn't like I say as much as you would have seen other faces. But yeah, man, solid stuff from everybody. I can't say it was it wasn't interesting. To like a good little main event, with Sol Ruka and Zara being involved. But yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's just one of those situations where it's like, it definitely had me thinking about Slammiversary with a side eye. And I was like, ugh, they won't do it, will they?
Well, we're gonna find out in a minute. We've
Yeah,
got
we'll see.
Impact. Yeah, Impact July 17th. Dark State attacked the system and got chance of NXT. Fucking
Nice.
fair play to them. Yeah, Matt Cardona helped the system. Photo Influence had a conflab with the Elegance brand. Ooh, sends shivers. Masha arrived and told Jane she won't give up till the heart stopped beating. And then Mike Santana and Joe Hendry defeated Kazarian and Trick with Mike pinning Kaz. And then July 20th, Slammiversary. For some reason, the Inspiration versus the Elegance was on the kickoff. I mean, I really don't like the Elegance who won. They wrestled like divas and not knockouts, you know? And I hate the fact the real one was on this card. And he thought it was still 2015, you know? But Zilla Fatu looked good. He was son of a Marga and 5 kids. So Monty, he's definitely Samoan. You know, like
No
that's
question.
them the rules. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
uh,
No question.
bit wet behind the ears, but still good. We got Mustafa Ali beating Cedric Alexander in the opener. Of course, the heart and soul of 205 Live, and they were trying to kill each other as well. Like we
Hmm.
talk about holding back, these two guys were not holding back, were they? You know?
No, they weren't, man. They were trying to set the show off right. That's one thing I'll say. They definitely wanted to set a tone. But also, too, man, I still love the Lombard check. Shout out to
Mhm.
Tasha for taking the Lombard check.
Yeah, she
That's the
went
way
fucking flying.
she flew. I love it. I love it when it happens. But yeah, man,
Oh.
they went for it, and like again, kind of knowing their history too. They've always went for it, but like you said, it was definitely a physical element to this one that wasn't present necessarily in like some of the old matches. So yeah, man, this is a great way to get things kind of the energy of the arena started. I mean, energy of the night going.
Yeah, without a doubt. And like I said, with the arena where it looked like and the crowd, it looked really, really good as well. We got the system, which were Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, and JDC, with Matt Cardona defeating NXT's Dark State, which was called Sugars, Dion Lennox, Cutler James, and Osiris Griffin. This did feel like a proper TNA versus NXT, and this was the first time Cadona and Mars teamed up in NXT. The system's color coordination was on point, but if Dark State can't even win in TNA, there's a bigger problem here, Monty. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I love the system, but fuck me, Dark State. You know.
Yeah, I mean, uh, I actually agree with your biggest takeaway. Of just like it goes back to what I was saying. That's the only reason why I wanted them associated with Trick, just so they can have some type of backing. Even if they still lost a lot or whatever, you still would at least know more about them other than just, oh, we cut the lights off and we look like we're here to tear shit up and whatever you want to say about them. But yeah, I mean, this is fine. I don't think the match itself was bad. It had so many people involved that at times it was like, what the hell? But it was cool. I didn't have a problem with it. But yeah, you're 100% right about at least their standing because again, you got to remember. I don't know if you remember, James, but I remember when they first hit the lights and they showed up.
Mm-hmm.
People was comparing them to the Shield, and I told
Yeah.
y'all to stop. I said, "Shut
Some
up!"
fucking idiot said it before, building them up as well. Like they really
right,
did. So, I don't know. I
right,
don't
but
know.
yeah, exactly.
Um,
So yeah.
yeah, apparently that guy doesn't know anything anyway. We got Indy Hartwell beating Tessa Blanchard in one of the
My
worst matches
God.
ever. This actually turned me off women's wrestling, Monty. It's really weird. I didn't think it would.
Oh my
I'm right
God.
off it now. Jesus Christ.
One week after one of the greatest weekends
Whoa,
of
yeah.
women's wrestling, then you have this. It's just like,
Oh.
why?
Nothing good. She's a racist chance continue. Come on, guys. Chris Benoit did worse. I actually wrote that. Well, obviously, when I was doing Slammiversary. So, anyway, NXT Women's Champion JC Jane defeated TNA Knockouts World Champion Masa Slamovich in a title versus title match. I mean, I have no words. WWE win again. The clash between W Talent and TNA in ring, I think, really showed here. We saw it a little bit with Dark State in the system. It might not be massive changes, but there is a little bit that just didn't click. But JC Jane is a double champion and a history maker. And Monty, like you said, I mean, go against JC Jane at your peril. She has proved everybody wrong. And if anybody doesn't realize how important this is huge. When you talk about the history of the Knockouts division with the NXT women's title now as well.
I mean, think about that, man. Like her name is etched to like the Gail Kims, the Awesome Kongs, and
I
that's the
know.
reason why. That's the reason why when I saw so many, I've seen a lot of impact, a lot of people who just they hated this, and I get it. I'm not necessarily opposed to the thought process of why, but like I'm trying to look at it from a guy who's not like who watching a diehard Impact. So I'm looking at it like, oh, okay. So that means after this, Impact is gonna have to do something to kind of fight this situation. And then I also thought the night of while I was watching, oh, so Trick gotta lose, right? We'll get to that. But anyway, but yeah, but yeah, man, Jason Jane at the end of the day, like I mentioned in that message we talked about, like she's a history maker. She's done at the end of the day, she's done something that even some of the greats in women's wrestling, whether you're Mercedes, Tony Storm, whatever you want to say,
Hmm.
they can never say that they held two of the most important and two of the best women's championship lineages on their shoulders at the same time. And that is JC Jane, whether you like it or not. That's what they've done,
Crazy.
and it's insane, man. I couldn't fathom it. The reason why I didn't put her in the matches, the reason why I predicted against her at the bash, all of that is because I just couldn't fathom it. But that is the reality that we're in, and like you said, the match itself, I'm with you. I think it's kind of weird when you think about it where we are. Like as much as people want to look at Impact as so much lore in WWE, but if there's one thing that the knockouts have always kind of had is a certain standard. Not necessarily everybody who's ever wrestled for them, but you know they have like at the top. Masha Slamovich represents one of the best in the world, and you can kind of see in a little bit of the clunkiness that Baby Jason Jane is not quite there when it comes to certain elements of the in ring work. But again, at the end of the day, man, she's the knockouts and the NXT
Well,
Women's Champion in
yeah, but
2025. I
again,
don't know what to say about it.
it's like Indy Hartwell, JC Jane for the title is just Oh, I don't know if I can, you know. And again, something against Jace Jones, but she's just not at that level to kind of carry, especially with opponents like Indy Hartwell or God forbid a fucking Tessa Blanchard, you know. But she did do it. So credit where credit's due. And like we said, maybe we were just completely wrong and she's a late bloomer, you know. But she has made history now, and no one can ever take that away from her, you know. So
I also told you that I don't. Maybe it's something we don't know. Maybe she's the ultimate locker room girl.
mm. Yeah, exactly. Who knows? Bit of good news for TNA because again they shit all over this show. We're talking about the main event as well, but I think it gave it like a 2.5 rating. The Impact fans and TNA were just going,
Yeah,
"This
they were
is
not
the
happy.
end," you know. And again, I like to think that this is like Empire Strikes Back, you know, or something where it went shit and then help, you know, or even up to date Infinity War. That would be a lot better than a 40-year-old film. Anyway, Leon Slater became the youngest X Division champion of all time, beating Moose. He beat Amazing Red Record. The sky is the limit for the young man. And afterwards, the phenomenal AJ Styles made his long-awaited return to TNA Wrestling. He recognized
What a
TNA as a
moment.
place where, honestly, man, unbelievable. Even Tom Han, you know, Tom Hannafan was going, "This is a moment we've dreamed of. We've dreamed of this." You know, and it's just like, all right, Todd, calm down, mate. But it was a lovely moment. He congratulated Slater on becoming the youngest X Division champion. He said it's 11 years since 11 years since AJ's last TNA appearance, which I can't believe. But like you said, Monty, what a moment! I want to get your thoughts on Leon Slater as well because that was an incredible matchup. But I should say, I think the plans were originally for AJ to be involved with Kaz in some way. But I think WWE were worried that people would think it would lead to a matchup, so they gave it to Slater. But again, I didn't mind the moment.
Yeah, I think it was cool. I hate that too. I hate when I heard about that they couldn't do it because if it's in, mostly because and I know he's doing stuff with Dom right now, so maybe that's another thing. But like, if it's anybody, in my opinion, who should be allowed to take part, hell, in my fantasy book world, maybe AJ could be the one to whip TNA into shape and get their belts back. You know what I mean? Even if
Hmm.
like you could tell a story that way, even if he don't be as involved in the ring as like you said, having matches every pay per view or whatever. You can still use like the, how rare is it for you to be in business with someone and then have the literally their greatest of all time on your roster, and you know what I mean, and you just want to.
Mm.
But again, you take what you can get. Like you're still happy with what we got. Still love the moment, kind of seeing him because one thing about it, I knew about Leon Slater before he officially signed with Impact. I've seen clips of him and what he was doing in the UK and around the world. Uh, has incredible potential. So kind of seeing him got there with a guy who could be a future staple or important man. I think that's what it felt like. I feel like if you're Leon Slater and you're sitting there in the ring and they give you that moment with an AJ Styles, how can you not feel like the company views you
Mm.
as a key person in the future to put the company on your shoulders down the line or whenever they decide to pull the trigger. I thought the match with Moose was I thought that was awesome. I thought they did a really good job. Like that really the wrestling quality in my opinion really picked up right there in that match. Like, oh man, like, oh, they really are going hard. That match what we got from Cedric and Ali a lot closer than anything else that was on the card in between. Right. Anything else that was on the
It
card
died. It
between
died.
them.
Yeah, the show
Right.
fucking died. I'm not blaming Indy and Tessa, but the show after Ali and I was watching going, is this a TNA show? Because it's fucking awful.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So I think those were definitely the highlights up to this point, and like then you get this moment with AJ. So I do think that was great, even though I do think it's a shame so far. I don't know. We have time, but it'd be nice, in my opinion, to involve AJ, even if it's just backstage segments every now and then. It'd be nice to see him involved even more because he is their greatest of all time. He is who,
Yeah.
in my opinion, when I think of TNA Impact. AJ Styles is the guy that I think of, and so it's just cool. Hell, even with every time Trick says he the greatest, I want AJ music to hit. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like that's how synonymous he is to me. So yeah, man, it was still a great moment though, and I'm just happy that we was able to get that moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully, depending on what they decide to do with AJ going forward for the rest of the year or so, they let him do a little bit more impact.
Yeah, I think before the agreement, if or the sale between WWE and TNA take place, yeah, AJ Styles needs to. I think have a match, on TNA. It's Bound for Glory. I think would be perfect. It doesn't need to be long, or whether it is,
Hmm.
and just do it like that. Up next, the Hardys. Matt and Jeff obviously defeated the World Tag Team Champions, the Nemeths, the Rascals, which was Zachary Wentz and Myron Reed, because at the moment, as we talk about, a lot of injuries going. Wesley could have fitted in there, but obviously he turned to them. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
again, opportunities. And then first class, AJ Francis and KC Navarro. I tell you what, AJ Francis, man.
God.
No, my God. Not only did he take a moonsault off the top, which I thought at the time, fuck, that's impressive. He then took, I think, apart from maybe Joey Mercury, the most horrific bump off a ladder. No, it's the most horrific bump off a ladder, I would say, to the outside. He got his legs caught on the ladder, and it looked awful. Do you know what I mean? I can't explain it. There is no way he didn't like crotch himself. Oh my fucking God. Fair play to him though.
Fair play, man. Because like I've never seen nobody take that bump that way, man. I've never seen that in my life. So I gotta give you props for you, whether you wanted to, whether you tried to do it or not. When you see something in wrestling you've never seen before, like you just gotta kind of get a little bit of props or a little bit of love. And man, what a spot, man! What a just I don't know, man. Hell, Jeff insane. Didn't he do like what 2, 3? Because I don't know if the ladder was supposed to
The
break
ladder. The
or
story
whatever.
was there was no ladders, so he had to keep trying to break the ladders by centering himself on like the rascals. And it's like
And
Jeff,
it's
mate.
over and over again. I'm like, Jeff, stop, just stop, Jeff. But yeah, man. So this match, even if it was like wasn't the greatest thing I've ever seen, it was it was definitely had moments. They definitely went for it. It was definitely one of them things that was it ended up being a highlight just because of how batshit it ended up becoming, in my opinion. But yeah, man, AJ. I also love AJ's quote or whatever that he gave. I forgot whoever. I think it was Sean Ross or whatever. But he was like, "Oh no, I'm good. I got a big dick, so it didn't hurt." I'm like,
Fucking
sure,
hell.
whatever, buddy, whatever. That's a great way
Oh.
to try to get out of it, but that is the damnedest way to go through a ladder I've
It's,
ever seen in my life.
yeah,
So
but again, we've seen it with like talk about Bubba Ray, on the TLC match. They jump off and then but the way he jumped and it just went straight down was just yeah, like you have to watch it to believe it because
yeah,
you've never seen anything like it.
seek the match out just for the AJ spot, almost in
Yeah.
my opinion. For that and watching Jeff almost kill himself
Oh my
three
God.
times or 4 in a row off a ladder. But yeah, this was it was something. I will say that. But congratulations to the Hardys back on top of the mountain. And this is the same show that this happened after.
No,
That
it
they,
fucking happened after,
oh
yeah.
my God! Not right
Yeah.
after we get Bully Ray, and I just all I gotta ask you the same thing I said when I watched it. I bet Devon is at home pissed. Like, what the hell is going on?
It's just Bobby Fish all over again.
What you
Devon's
mean?
at home looking at TV going, what the fuck is Bully Ray doing now? I'm not ready for Bound for Glory. And the fans asked where Devon was. But yeah, Bully Ray challenged the Hardys to a tag match at Bound for Glory. So, Monty, in 2025, we're going to get the Dudleys versus the Hardys, and we're going to get Edge and Christian as a team back together again, eh?
Indeed, most
The,
likely, yeah.
the teenage me is popping inside.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, wow.
I just love everything I've seen about it. Like they like, oh man, after Bound for God, go and get the ice tub, icy hot, get all of
Oh,
that
God.
ready. Because this is
I
not
honestly don't know.
98. But hey, this is good. We'll see.
I know,
We'll
I
see how it
know.
goes.
It's going to be an interesting build to Bound for Glory. TNA World Champion Trick Williams took on Mike Santana and Joe Hendry for the TNA World Championship. It appeared that Trick was injured on the outside, and Santana hit 2 spinner blocks on Hendry, which is his finisher,
Hmm.
looking to get the win. But Trick recovered out of nowhere, tossing Santana out and stealing the pin for free. And it looks like Joe won't get a pay-per-view rematch, but apart from maybe Tessa match, they all deserve to be on the crowd. But again, the main event was interesting because we spoke about this, and I was like, there's too much as we talked about Trick, there's too much in him at the moment. Do you know what I mean? There's too much
Hmm.
gas in the tank. Like I think we can go, especially for Bound for Glory, because again, it's clicking. And I've talked about, oh well, TNA and NXT talent didn't work. Trick has become TNA. He is Trick and A. Like he's part of the crew now.
He fits, right?
Yeah.
He fits, like, and like I don't know if it's just because of where he's at in his journey and like as a wrestler. Like I said, Trick reminds me so much of just those wrestlers that brings it when you give them the right guys. Like, and that's what I'm saying. If you can give him the guys, like I mentioned, we talk about it all the time. When Trick Williams was a babyface NXT champion, they made sure to give him the shittiest list of guys you could, and that reign ended up pretty shitty. But so far in Impact with his character work and everything he's been doing, and you have baby faces you can believe in. That's one thing I will say that a lot of got people I did see disappointed in this. They just was hurt for Santana because they thought it was a perfect time to crown him. He was in front of a lot of people who had love for him. By the way, I don't know if we mentioned this, but like this is like what the greatest gate, one of the greatest gates in
Yes.
Impact history. So like that was awesome. So they really thought that would be a great moment to crown a guy like Santana, which I definitely can understand. And then even the way Trick won was kind of a spit in the face to some of those people who may have wanted that outcome. But to me, like you mentioned, James, man, everything that we've been seeing every week, whether it's on TNA, whether it's on NXT, Trick Williams has been doing a bang up job, an excellent job. Hell, he's been, in my opinion, when you just think about relevance and everything he's doing for the like what he feels like as far as visibility as Impact World Champion, he is taking it to another level. And I think this experience, when it is time, like I said, when after this run, I think honestly, Trick might be on the way up. It might be, it might be done for his run in NXT, and it might be time for the main roster. And I think this experience probably will be the most valuable. But besides the work with Dragunov, in my opinion, they seem to get him to this point
Mm.
of world title level. The stuff in Impact can be some of the most important pre-main roster work in his young career because that's how well, in my opinion, I think he's doing in this role. And like I said, just as a world champion. And I think despite some people may not being happy with WWE people being on top of Impact, and I understand the sentiments completely. I just feel like Trick Williams being on top, in my opinion, has been beneficial, and it's been beneficial for him. And I don't necessarily think it's been a horrible spot for Impact. But that's just my
Mm.
opinion. You watch Impact more than me, so I
No,
like.
no, no. I
Okay.
like we talk about with Impact, it's brought more eyes to the product. It's the thing now. Where it's you got the hardcore TNA fans that aren't happy with involvement with NXT, but then you look at what I hate they call it, but the metrics. They mention it on
Yeah.
Impact. When you think they've doubled the amount of subscribers they've got on TNA Plus, doubled. You know what I mean? They're doubled the amount of people watching Impact now. There was like
Hmm.
50,000 people. Now there's like 100,000. That's on Access TV where not a lot of people watch it. They're putting the
Hmm.
stuff on YouTube. They're getting them all clips and everything like this. And again, I would just say to TNA fans, this is, like I said, this is Infinity War. You're not always going to get your way. Sometimes Thanos does click, and it's going to end with TNA on top or the championships back. Will it go the way everybody thinks? Will a TNA guy become an NXT champion? I hope so. Do you know what I mean? And stuff like that. But again, if this is the start of a relationship over, I think it was a 3-year deal they were talking about. So again, just let's let it develop and see how it goes. Because I think everybody is improving at this moment in time. And also another thing, I think it's a great time to be a wrestling fan. When you talk
Hmm.
about Evolution was fantastic with one of the greatest women's matches ever. All In was arguably AEW's brightest moment. And now
Yeah.
TNA have over 7,000 people watching them, which was the highest attended show in North American history for them. This is the closest that we have come to what everybody thinks was that golden era. You talk about Monday Night
Right.
Wars with WWE, WCW, and ECW, and this is the closest that we've come. You know what I mean, Monty? Like AEW with 30,
Hmm.
30K, TNA with their attendances. And again, TNA is NXT light, but it's working as a business. And again, this is what
Hmm.
it is. It's a wrestling business. And I hate the shit what Triple H does, but you can't argue with that with TNA. So I'll just say, like, come on, it's drawing more eyes to the product and everything like that. And we've got Trick. At least that's working.
Right. I agree 100%, man. I think at the end of the day, because I think too, and I think that's kind of like I understand the sentiments and like you gotta understand after Trick won like that night, I saw people telling me that I can already see the merger championship match or whatever, the basically saying Impact's belts are gonna disappear, and I'm just like I get the doom and gloom with WWE's history of assuming that, but in my opinion, if they wanted to usurp Impact because TK owns Impact, they could have already did that. They could have already, you know what I mean, just
Yeah.
swallowed them up and took their library and all of that if they wanted to. They didn't. They like this is obviously a different deal than that. And like you said, it just has potential. I think storyline potential when it comes to NXT versus Impact and what it can become. Yes, I'm just like you. I would love to see, maybe a Slamovich or a woman winning the NXT Women's Championship, or if not Slamovich or whatever you want to say. Like you say, Oba, I don't know exactly who that could be because Oba at this point is just out of this world. But Impact, like it could you dethrone that? Hell, we talked about the tag belts. I see a perfect opportunity there with Hank and Tank pretty much being the only great representation. Like I would love to see us that be the next step. Is Impact starting to be like, okay, we're gonna take it to them the same way that they kind of brought it here. So I think that we got so many ways that we can go. And like you said, I think at the end of the day, as somebody who stopped watching Impact consistently, mostly because, like you said, they went to Access. I don't necessarily have that, but like now I'm just like you mentioned. Now I'm subscribed. I'm on YouTube. I'm checking out everything that I can check out, and I made sure to watch Slammiversary, and like I'm probably gonna check out whatever they have going on next, and like that's something the interest, like you mentioned, the conversation is just some Impact was missing for a long time. No matter how good the wrestling was, a few years back or whatever, it didn't matter. Some of these great talents that we see on AEW or in WWE, like Speedball Mike Bailey and all that, a lot of some of their best work, it didn't even really
Yep.
get eyeballs. But now those guys are on AEW and other places, and people say, "Wow, this guy is great. I wonder where he come from." Then you found
Yeah.
out he was in Impact the last 3 4 years or
He
whatever.
was
So
TNA champion for a year. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
exactly.
No.
So like, I love that Impact is finally back and getting that limelight. And like you mentioned, James, we have potential not only to be in that golden era with the three American promotions, but we also still have the outside of America promotion. Like we are literally now in probably the greatest period. I know people don't know it because you're living in it, but when we look back, and we probably gonna be like, dang, the 2020s, the early 2020s, or the whole decade or whatever, man, that was the greatest era of wrestling in general because we just got so much at our fingertips. And I don't think some fans realize just how good we have it in a lot of ways.
Yeah. No, I think without a doubt. But then again, like I said, it's saying about perspective as well. And this is why it's good having the updates because now, we've stored this little time capsule that we can look back and review in a few
Right.
years' time. We've got final NXT, which is July 22nd. We're in Houston, Texas, and hometown hero Booker T gave the show a special introduction, which included messing up Blake Monroe's name. He announced the 8-person mixed tag match for heading to the announce table, which was NXT Tag Champs Hank and Tank teaming with Sol, Ruka, and Zarya, taking on Sean Spears, Nick O'Vance, Izzy Dame, and Tatum Paxley. Crowd chanted this is awesome, following a night sequence involving all four. But the biggest pop came when Zarya hit a slam on Spears. Dark State made an appearance. It was enough of a distraction for Paxley to pin Zarya for the win. Um, Again, I love Booker, so I'm not going to slander him. It wasn't a bad way to start, but again, didn't start. NXT didn't start on the best foot, did it? Really, as we'd see you the rest of the night.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it wasn't really the greatest start, but I don't think I think it was fine. I thought this was actually a fun little opening. I saw somebody point out that if you think the culling is bad already, you truly not giving them a chance. And I'm just like, it's not that I think they're bad. I just don't care. which is basically the next. If it's not the next best thing, it's probably the worst thing
It's which
you
is
can
worse.
be.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
It's worse. It's worse than thinking they're bad. I'm just not interested. But I don't think that they're unwatchable. Like I said, this is a decent opening. But you're right. Like with the whole, was it Monica Monroe?
Yeah, he said Monica
He made
Maria.
up a completely different name. I'm like, who is Monica? But yeah, as a matter of fact, WWE might as well just name someone else Monica Monroe. Give her a sister character if they have.
Exactly.
Why not?
Safe booker with this. Anyway, and again, I love the fact though Vic can bring it up later on in the show as well as it did. Do you know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's the kind of
Oh, he's so
freedom they've
good at
got
that.
now. Yeah. Anyway, the NXT Women's and TNA Knockouts champion. JC Jane came to celebrate a big win with Fallon Henry and Jasmine next by her side. The crowd chanted JC2 belts. What the fuck is wrong with them? Before she bragged about being a double champion. It didn't take long for Lash Legend to interrupt her. Jada Parker also came out and things ended up in a fight. The segment finished with Legend and Parker having a bit of a standoff. So the new double champion ended up not even the main attraction at the end of the celebration segment. It's a
I
way to
agree.
work, isn't
Cause
it?
I agree, man. Because when Last Judge came out, I know what I was thinking about. And when JC James,
But again, setting up, can JC be a successful? I say a successful Steph, like not relinquish the title, but can she, walk that line between Jada Parker and Lash Legend and maybe what's on TNA?
yeah, that's gonna be interesting to see, man. I think she has potential to do it because she does have a faction on her side. You cannot understate the impact that having two people behind you in this situation can be. But like I mentioned before, in the way WWE seems to love booking groups, how long is that relationship with those with Jasmine Nixon with uh, Fallon? How long is that going to be stable? It's going to be a question in how long this happens. But it'd be interesting. I don't know. Besides Masha, who do you view as top level in Impact? Because that would be my next question. Because I do think she probably can survive Lash and Jada right now, at least for the time being. But as far as Impact goes, who would be the threat besides
It's
Masha getting the rematch?
Indy Hartwell is the one they're building up. Like I said, to her.
Okay, well, I think she'll survive. I
Yeah,
think
that's what I'm
she'll
saying. But that's going to be a
survive.
Bound for Glory match or something like that. Like, fuck that.
Oh my
Like,
god.
this is a problem with TNA over the past
Yeah,
year or so is that their knockout division has dwindled. And again,
yeah.
they're signing few talents now. And I'm sure in a 6 months' time, I can be like, oh, these are the guys. Do you know what I mean? But
Right, right,
they're
right.
very raw talents. And the people like Tasha Stills, who's
I
fucking the
like Tosh.
Breaker badass, is being used as like Ali's
Like a
mouthpiece and not really
manager.
wrestled.
Yeah,
Exactly. You
yeah.
got the Elegance brand don't fucking need them.
Don't
Do you
get
know what I
started on
mean?
it.
Like, yeah, they can't. Again, we've got the Iconics back, or the Inspiration as the name now, and they're going to
Uh-huh.
do their shtick. So again, yeah, it's a difficult situation where I think TNA have gone, oh, because of other factors, maybe. Like I said, I think you mentioned a couple of updates ago, they can now use the women's talents from NXT. They haven't
Right.
recently,
Yeah, that's
but
what I think they probably should do.
yeah.
NXT has so much, so deep a pool, and maybe that'll be the thing. Maybe Jada can go NXT or Lash, vice versa. Lash can go in Impact Championship, and Jada can go NXT title, and that can be how
Yeah,
you decide that's how you freshen it up, and do it. But I think for now it seems like, especially because Jordan, we know Jordan and Blake, with their problem, they're going to be involved with something for a while. So you're gonna have Jordan gone. You're gonna, out of the way. Blake is not gonna be interested in it right now. So again, I think NXT, as far as the people I look at as top contenders, she's pretty safe outside of, like I said, pushing, who we have now, who seem to be challenging at the moment with Jada and Lash. So I mean, I
yeah.
don't know, man. It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see. But I do think that she has the potential. And right now, we're based on where we're looking at with the divisions of contenders. It feels like she's gonna be carrying this for a little while, at least.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be surprised with the NXT championship if, like, maybe it was a triple threat with, JC Jane and with Monroe and Grace, get the NXT title on Monroe, have that feud run out and then JC over to TNA, and kind of maybe that way.
That's one
But
way to do it.
exactly, but again, it just seems at the moment, I don't know if they got a plan, but it'd be interesting to see what happens. Jasper Troy took on Ricky Saints. Both men took a big spell out of the ring and they're back up fighting at the ramp. And then we know what happens next. The ramp collapsed under Saints. We
Ruined the
didn't know
spot.
that. The camera didn't show that at all. We just heard a crash and
I
then
heard
Saints
it right.
disappeared. Yeah, we looked round and he was gone. Troy hit a senton on him to sell it, but it was just plain awkward. Troy beat the count back in the ring to win by count out. I mean, if we could sum up Ricky Saints running NXT, I think that would be it.
That's a
Do you know what
great
I
one.
mean?
Yeah, that's a great one. I love Ricky again. I like what he's been doing. But and I think even in this match he did his best to really put over the kid and again, like I said, make the big angry man, just kind of look strong. I think Ricky did a great job in that. But yeah, man, that's the way that kind of went for him is a perfect kind of breakdown of basically just his entire run as far as like how things have went for him so far. And again, I don't think this is horrible. I don't think it's gonna ruin anything, but it's just one of those things that's just like unfortunate. Because I think honestly, if the thing didn't break, it would have been a horrible spot to take. To be honest, he might be fortunate that he didn't have to
Yeah.
take the senton through the stage, but it definitely is just one of those just yeah, it was shitty luck, But yeah, it took the wind out because I seen them setting it up, and I was just like, okay, they're going for it, and then to have to beat a dramatic 10 count after that, it was like yeah, that kind of messed up the entire little angle there. But yeah, man, I don't know, man. Ricky keep fighting because it just hasn't been working out,
Yeah.
the way you would think, the way you thought. Like, because I felt like again, he's another one of those guys that I said about Wes Lee. I thought Ricky too was somebody who could be fast tracked into that main event slot with his charisma and with what we know he could do. And just like you mentioned, man, so far it's one of those situations where it just hasn't went the way you would expect.
Yeah. A bit of a shame, really. We got a nice Aussie tribute from NXT as well. And then we got Trick Williams coming to the ring for a segment with The Undertaker. Before the Dead Man showed up, Trick bagged about retaining his TNA championship. The Phenom arrived, the fans chanting his name, for he said Williams was a dead man walking. He said he had everything except his respect. He tried to give a TNA champion some advice to fix his attitude. He says, "You're too light in the ass to mess with an OG." Good advice, I suppose. Things got a little tense and Trick started to look intimidated. He tried a punch taker, but ended up taking a choke slam instead. Wow, the TNA champion getting choke slammed. I think they do it just for the reaction of these TNA fans on X or whatever it is. But this was again an interesting segment. You had to teach me what being a little a little too light in the arse meant because we got different meaning over here, I think.
Oh Lord, okay, I can't wait to hear y'all. But so let me explain the Southern American meaning. It's just basically what Undertaker meant was you can either look at it literally and say you're too small, you can't fight, this fight won't go well for you. You're way too small. I will manhandle you. Or you can look at it like you ain't got the balls to stand up. You ain't got the balls to really challenge me for real. And like that's kind of the way we use it in the South of America. Now, what is y'all term for like that?
I
So I
I
can
would
come.
s- I before I get banned, I would just say it's more of a kind of term for a particular type of activity. Might be
Oh
fair to
wow!
say. Yeah, yeah, and it might be an insult for people that might not be big enough, shall we say? But again,
Gotcha,
a little bit
gotcha.
similar. Uh, but, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not, down. I might have heard it in passing. No one's ever said it to me. But again, it's weird because ever since you said it as well, I can't see Undertaker as not Al Snow anymore. And that's my phenom, man. But he loves LFG. Do you see
He
that tear
love it.
going down his face when Trick was mocking it? Like he was crying. Taker was crying.
Yes, man, he's the ultimate coach now. And it's so hilarious to think about, man. Like you said, that's the dead man right there. Just getting in, like I said, Al Snow from Tough Enough back in the day. I'll never forget it, man. Every time I saw Maven or whoever you want to get, they ran Al Snow out there, head coach. So yeah, man, that's what this was. I don't know about you. I'm glad you mentioned that Impact thing because I did see some people not too happy about that, but I also just saw people genuinely saying, "What was this for?" And they felt like Trick got buried, and I got a kick out of this segment. As much as I understand what people are saying that you want Trick to come out strong or you don't need to do this, I I guess that since I've watched WWE for so long, to me, and maybe it's just me, the symbolism is still there that the fact that Trick is working, but they did the same thing with Braun Breaker, if you remember, in NXT. The fact that you get a spot down in NXT one on one, and then he did it like he had a night like what good 10 minutes just straight up promo against the Undertaker, interrupted him and all of that. Like that just showed me where they view Trick. Like again, maybe that's just my point of view. I'm not trying to say you have to look at it positively. I get it. As TNA champion, just watching some old man lay him out. You know what I'm saying? I understand exactly what you're saying. I get all of it, but it's just like for me, I still look at Undertaker like that as one of those parameters, and the fact that they decide to use him that much like that. Now you know what makes this less impactful for me is when like in a couple seconds later, Bully Ray is in like Michelle McCool and Bully Ray, all the LFG coaches here. So it felt way less special because I saw
I
all the
am
coaches.
not mentioning them. I'm not. I thought about it and I was like, not gonna. But
Right.
I
So
like
yeah.
I,
So they all had
I
a segment. That made it a little bit less impactful for me, but yeah, man, I got a kick out of this segment.
I worked at TNA fans. I just said Taker's booked against Trick at Bound for Glory. Like that's a match. Taker's going to come out of retirement in TNA, you know. We have Blake Monroe with her first singles match this week when she took on No Quarter Catch Crew's Ren Sinclair. Earlier in the show, Jordan Grace was shown being banned from the arena since general manager Ava knew she would try to get after Monroe turning on her at Evolution. There was a backstage clip as well on WWE socials of Jordan climbing into a crate to get pushed in as well. So hey, at least they stuck with it. The Glamour maintained control, hit a DDT for the pin and the win. And then afterwards, Grace came out and fought through security to get to the ring. She took out several guards for Monroe, hit a DDT on a chair. And again, this was good business because
That looked
we
good
kind of
too.
like I said, we've got a ready-made feud here, haven't we?
Yeah, nice heat. It's simple too, right to the point. And I think kind of like to your point earlier about stuff that they don't necessarily have to bring up. I think it's already enough. He's already done enough just in these last few weeks, in my opinion, to where you don't need to add any heat to it by being, unnecessarily uh, disrespectful just for the sake of it. Like I think it's already enough betrayal and enough. Like you just the thud of that DDT. I'm like, man, hey, that was they did that one perfect. The way she landed, all that. So I like that, man. I thought Jordan looked great, even if she did lose the segment and kind of looked like she's hot headed at the moment. She still looked great in that moment because fighting off the men and all that. But also, uh, again, the cerebralness of Blake is kind of on display again in this situation because she kind of looked like I said, Jordan looked like a hothead in this situation. And but if you really pay attention to the entire brawl, Blake was setting her up to get by that chair that whole time. So yeah, it was pretty cool. And I like it. It's a very nice next step. It's a hot feud. I don't know how it feels to have the best women's feud on my show, not involving top champions. I think that's going to be something that we're going to have to start the view with JC carrying so much of the load is, we the most interesting thing on your show when it comes to the women is this Grace and Blake Monroe thing. But at the end of the day, it's fresh, and I think they have potential to tell a really good story together over the next few months, in my opinion. So, yeah,
Yeah, it's going to be fun stuff. Ethan Page came out to brag about still being North American champion. There's a
this pissed
table.
me off.
There's a table with clearly a new title belt next to him. He threw the old title out of the ring and revealed a Canadian strap he had made for a new belt. Santino Morella came out to a nice prop to confront All Ego. He
Very
said
nice.
Page does not speak for Canadians, even though he's Italian. Santano ended up pulling out the Cobra, made Page retreat, and we are getting Santino taking off Page next week. It's 2025. It's great. And not only are we getting Santino, Monty, but isn't it great? Xenophobia is still over in 2025. Do you know what I mean? Like, they hate people from other places. It's just like,
You know,
I don't
like, hey man, hey, like if it's one thing about this business that we love, you know, I don't know how long. I think at this point I think we've been saying it for at least a decade that the whole country angles is like, hey, can we stop that, please? I mean, it's a little distasteful, right? Like, no, that shit still works, and it works. It works beautifully. Especially in Florida. Uh,
Oh, fucking
but
hell.
what I will say is that I, I don't know, man. I was a geography guy, and I'm just like, did everybody fail geography? I mean, look at the old belt. Canada's right.
Mm.
Like, come on, man. It's a North American title. But it's fine. It's fine. I get it. I get why. I'm not mad at Ethan. I get why he did it. He's supposed to be the a-hole. Whatever. But yeah, man. Like you said, it's hey, if it's not the UK, it's Canada. Because I remember the un-Americans basically blended the UK and Canada together. It worked.
Damn
It
right.
worked back
Commonwealth.
then. Right, exactly. So it worked back then. So there's only one of these things didn't work, and I think that was like the League of Nations or whatever. And it might, as a matter of fact, if I go back to the film, I'm sure they got heel reaction. So again, it's so outdated, but I can't argue with the fact of whether or not they get the results they're looking for. It's outdated, but they get the results they're looking for.
But Page doesn't need the gimmick, and this
He
is the
does not
frustrating
need it.
thing.
He
Doesn't
got
need
the
it. He's
heat
like,
by itself. Yeah, I
oh my
agree.
god, he's so good. And the good thing about Ethan Page, and I don't think I've waxed lyrical about him. I know you did, which is a great thing as well. Is like you said, I know the match with Santino is going to be fun. Do you know what I mean? It's
Mm-hmm.
weird that it's going to work. Like Page, he's really impressed me. Like talk about even from Wells Collide and the styles and
Mm-hmm.
everything that he's doing. He's just a really, really good heel. And like you said, the Canadian thing is just going to drive, the
Besides
USA
Trick,
chance and all that lot.
besides Trick,
Yeah.
nobody is better. Nobody's more ready, in my opinion, for the next level.
Yeah, he
Besides
really has
maybe
taken.
Trick.
And like you said, the important thing is to come to NXT not as a stepping stone, but to kind of just he's become a part of it now. Do you know what I mean? Like
Right.
I think even in a few years' time, we'll be speaking of Ethan Page on a level of like we talk about other guys. Um,
Agreed.
anyway, yeah, you know what I mean. Exactly, Bobby Roode and people like that. We got Trick and Oba. They had a face off as
Favorite
JC
segment of the
Jane.
night, by the way.
Oh God, I don't want to say it got me aroused, but my God, and I love it because the way Oba was looking at Trick of like a hungry dog. Do you know what I mean?
Oh
Of
my
like,
god.
yeah, I'll take that. And then JC walking by was like, yo, you've just confirmed. Why else would JC walk by with the two titles? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm like,
It
I'm
was
not
so
going.
great. It was so great because you got so Trick went from like frazzled, like because he was still reeling from the Undertaker, so his face was perfect, and then he locked eyes with Oba, and then they get interrupted, and it's like when JC walked by, Oba looks dead at his championship, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh my god, that's
I
so
know.
perfect. They didn't say a word. That's why it was my favorite
Oh,
segment. Didn't say a word, but kind of told us everything we needed to know. That we might need to watch out for a big one of the biggest matches that they can make right now in NXT is which is another tricky over match, but this time maybe for everything. Like I don't know if they're gonna do it,
mm.
but I love the tease.
Well, that's like I said. Apart from Javon, that is the biggest match they can do. And I'll tell you what,
Right.
TNA fans and TNA talent will be cheering for Trick in that one as well, which would be hilarious because again, it's not his talent. But again,
Right.
if Oben was to win the TNA title, I don't think anybody, no cunt in that company is beating him. Maybe the Undertaker. Do you know what I mean? I can't see anybody else.
Exactly. Like
Uh,
that's what I'm saying. What would that mean? Like if you could get
oh,
over with both belts,
oh.
you think they having a hard time getting it off Trick.
Oh my god! I mean, exactly. Like Obafemi is champion. Oh my word! And the main event saw our champion Obafemi defend his NXT championship against Yusuke Inamura and Josh Briggs. Briggs was sent out the ring right away, but came back and tried to work with Inamura to take out the champion together. This fucking confused me because again, it's like, are you friends or are you not? What's going on here? They had some miscommunication, but still managed to hit a few double team moves. Femi was able to get the win and retain his title. The thing I like about Oba is like it is like Godzilla or Kong. Do you know what I mean? Like showing up towards the end and just being like, no, my time now. Right, let me just fuck you up.
Wipe out
Um,
everybody.
oh my Jesus Christ. And you know, got the victory there. And then as soon as Briggs ran into Inamura running boot, the camera angle wasn't that great anyway, because it's like, was that an accident? Like, what's going on here? And can someone please tell Briggs that that skull is still on his fucking shoulder? You know, but again, Monty, I think we talked about the serious thing was the Oba trick thing beforehand, but Oba again just showing he is dominant. There is no one. You know, it doesn't matter where you're from. LFG, fucking Evolve, TNA, whatever it is. Oba is the man.
Do you know how dominant you have to be for a majority, or it feeling like a chunk of your title matches have been triple threat,
Hmm.
and you like undefeated in that scenario? Like that is insanely dominant because everybody makes the point to what they always say in every triple threat. Oh, the champion is disadvantaged. You know what I mean? And that doesn't apply at all for Over. And it doesn't matter if it's one on one. Doesn't matter the situation. Obafemi is always the favorite, always the advantage, and he's unbelievable, man. And I think this was a really good match. This was more what I wanted from him and Inamura one-on-one match. But the worst parts of it was like what you mentioned earlier about like kind of being confused because I was when I was watching, I was like, I thought Briggs already did the turn.
Yeah.
So then what they did after the match was even more like because he, like you said, the angle wasn't great. He yelled something that didn't really get picked up on camera at anymore too. So I don't know. So I'm assuming it's over now, and they can finally move on and feud or whatever they're going to do. But yeah, man, I think that was like my major takeaway from it was that Oba's still dominant. This was a fun way to do it, and I don't know, man. Like I said, I still think Javon is a great candidate if you want to do that one-on-one moment. But like I said, even the slight tease of having Obafemi versus Trick Williams because of where they place. Like I mentioned, I've mentioned it multiple times. Sean viewed them as 1A and 1B. Well, to
Hmm.
have them viewed in that like, highlight, you can see it kind of reflected in the booking. And like again, I think the potential is there for a huge match if they decide to go that route. But
Yeah.
if not, I do think that I do believe that what they're doing here, like I said, the next logical step after this, after a great match like this, has to be a Javon Evans getting that one-on-one match and getting another chance. Now, the thing is, like I said, everything we just said about Oba still applies. As much as I love Javon and I think he could be ready for it, you know, it's still Obafemi, man. And I
Yeah.
don't know. It's like I saw somebody post right after this, like who the hell is gonna dethrone this guy? And that is a genuine question that anybody who's watching any amount of NXT has to be asking because that's how dominant he's been.
Yeah. Well, let's just hope it's not Tony fucking D, you know? Anyway, finally, on Impact, we kicked things off with Santino Marella, who addressed that both the TNA World Championship and Knockouts World Championships are in the hand of NXT superstars. And Morella said, don't worry, I'm going to get the NXT North American Championship over Ethan Page. Yeah, all right. Masa Slamovich
Yeah.
came out. She wants a contractually obligated rematch next week. So on our next update, it will be JCJ versus Masha Slamovich TNA title on Impact, which doesn't fill me with confidence for Mash for
Well,
Masha.
a little early, huh?
Yeah, who knows? Especially with Against All Odds coming like just before, you know what I mean, like 13th of August, something like that. Anyway, we hear from NXT's JC Jane after she defeated Master Slamovich, becoming double champion. She admits the talent in the Knockouts division is extremely talented, but they are flawed. She made a bold statement and vows that when people look at the Knockouts World title, they're going to think of her. I'm not going to lie, I am at the moment, but not in a good way. Um, we wondered what was happening next with Trick Williams. Well, Moose wants Trick. That was what he said. So maybe that is where Trick's going with Moose. I don't mind. It's weird that Trick is going through kind of like Obafemi's, do you know what I mean? Who he's had to
Right.
go through as well. But I don't mind it. I don't mind it. And then in the main event, Mike Santana pinned Joe Hendry. They shook hands afterwards, and this looked like I don't want to say a passing of the torch is not right, but for Mike to beat Joe in their first ever singles match and to shake hands, it looked like Mike is the guy to go through for Bound for Glory. And as you mentioned earlier, people go, why not do it in New York? TNA always missed the mark. They did it with Joe Hendry. They extended it 3 months when he didn't need to. So, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
interesting times on Impact. That's what the future holds, basically. It looks like between TNA and NXT. But what are your thoughts on this month, Monty? Because we covered it all, and there's been a lot to cover. But what are your thoughts on NXT and where we're headed?
I mean, I think we're in a pretty good spot overall. You know, there's definitely still some areas that I mentioned, like the tag division and when it comes to having more to talk about than like Hank and Tank in like one match. You know what I'm saying? It'd be nice.
Yeah.
I think they did another match, but yeah, it'd be nice to see them actually have credible people that we can, other people that can build up. The women's division, in my opinion, is still we still have a lot there, but I do feel like this was the first update in a while. But I didn't feel like we got that, other than like maybe the culling and then like the Soul Ruka stuff, and then everything else felt like it's wrapped around Fatal Attraction. And I get it because of what we're building up to, and Jason Jane is the champion, so that she is going to be the main focus. But I just think that if you think about the what we've been kind of dealing with in the women's division the last year or so, we still had a fine balance of still getting a lot of everybody involved. You only mentioned like, for example, you only mentioned like Kalani and other ladies like once or twice on this entire
Mm.
update, mostly due to what we were, like I said, what we're kind of focused on currently, uh, which is again to be expected with everything they're doing with Jason James. But again, I still don't think that's a bad, necessarily a horrible thing. I think the involvement with Impact has been a great element, like I said, to not only Trick's character, but they've been doing great business on both sides for NXT and Impact. So I don't know, man. I think the thing is that I think now I'm kind of in the swing of things of kind of keeping up with Impact, whether it's through highlights through the week and some of their major events, and then at the same time, doing what I do for what I've always done with NXT, and I kind of get in the swing of things with that. So I do kind of like kind of like how we mentioned in the past that Impact kind of feels like a continuation of NXT in a sense,
Mm.
and it's not necessarily in a bad way either. So yeah, I think again, overall, we're in a decent spot. Definitely some things to clean up. I'm very excited on where we could be heading with Obafemi because like I said, I think Javon. They've already pretty much hinted at the Javon stuff. They kind of showed that we could be revisiting Trick. So it'd be interesting. Like I said, no, I don't. Right now, I don't feel like we're overly saturated in any kind of way for the most part. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what goes on now that they've kind of done this whole Canadian thing with the North American title. Like we have a lot of fresh ideas right now that we're gonna have to see in a few months how we feel about and how things play out. And then, like I said, the entire right now we have NXT talent with Impact. So right now, Impact feels more important than ever when it comes to consuming NXT. And I just hope that continues to help both companies, not just NXT.
Yeah, without a doubt. So that is it. Don't forget, we're across all social media, X at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNR Pod James. You can find the entire WNR team on the banner. We're also now on Blue Sky, WNR Podcast, and Reddit. Monty, where can people find and follow you?
At my Monty Pod on Twitter, that's where I give my thoughts and opinion on
Perfect.
wrestling.
And WNR also on Facebook and Instagram. Send us an email at WNRpodcast at gmail.com and YouTube. The WNR Podcast celebrating 10 years of the WNR Podcast on YouTube, and the podcast got at the same time on YouTube. And they do SoundCloud on your phone, also Spotify, where you can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. So that is it. Our next episode is the SummerSlam party. Monty, it's become part, whether we like it or not, of the kind of what we do in the WNR. We always have time for a party around SummerSlam, and this show is going to be mental because we've got evolution and predictions and everything else that goes along with it.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I mean, we're doing this Saturday, right? Or
Yep, we're doing it
okay,
Saturday. We're
cool.
going to do
Cool. Saturday
Saturday.
works best for me. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, that'll be. I can't wait, man. I'm excited. Not so much. I mean, certain things we got a lot to kind of, like you said, to kind of catch up on in WWE when it comes to getting ready for SummerSlam. I do think it's gonna be a pretty good card in some ways, and some interesting directions that we could be going. But there's also some stuff on the card where I'm like, okay, I don't, but hey, I'm here. It'll be a good time. I know at least breaking it down with you guys and then wrapping up Evolution because I've been excited to talk about Evolution, since the night it happened. So
Mm.
it's gonna be really cool to get into that, especially with the girls. So it's gonna be cool, man. It's gonna be another great time. Y'all come and have fun with us. I love the live show. Those are probably my favorite format, to do these.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, until then, I've been James Rhodes and I was joined by the mind of Monty. And Monty, I'm about to say you got another win today, but you don't really care about that, do you? So, what's the
Nah, I'm
point?
cool. I
Yeah, I
don't really
know.
care. I don't really care. I'm giving all my energy to Tachi right now. All my G1 watchers. Monty is currently donating everything he has to Tachi.
Well, that is it. Thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.